Alright, let's get into this.
But it'll work out.
It will work out. So as you can see here, I currently have the best time at 3:58. That was also an offline run. It was literally the run before this one. But this category's got such a long history, and it starts with Werster basically pushing this category really low. We traded records back and forth for a while, but Werster was the guy who just he stamped his authority on the category when he got a 3:57.42. Sorry. Now that is an incredible time, and that record stood for 5 years. It took a little bit of time, but we decided that emulators should not receive the default advantage of not having the BIOS file loading time included on their time. So we retimed Werster's run back to 4:02, which you can see there is currently third place. But in my mind, I've always wanted to do better than 3:57.42, because like then this run would be the undisputed run, right? Like Werster might have a technically faster time, but like the 3:58 is the fastest official time, but Werster's run technically is the 3:57, so no one who doesn't understand the subtlety. But yeah, whatever. Clean victory, that's a good way of putting it, get dunked on. So that's always been the goal. I timed out some goal splits, made some reasonable kind of adjustments to that, and I got a 3:56 as a kind of goal target. So the goal splits are kind of calibrated on an acceptable time loss per split relative to my sum of best. So I was aiming for a 3:56 with this run, which is basically 2 minutes faster than my PB. There are a few things to say about this, and I'll try to point out as much as I can along the way. The first thing to say here is that this run would not be possible without Fritzy. For a long time, I couldn't get past Werster's time because, to some extent, there was like a mental block around being able to get better than his time. But when Fritzy beat his time, like suddenly that mental block just went away. And that kind of opened me up to actually do good runs of this category again, which is kind of nice. So we do that. So thanks to Fritzy for that. Thanks to Baal, who's just jumped in on the call on Discord as well, because Baal gave me the idea of recording these runs offline, which has allowed me to do way more attempts. So that's really valuable. We'll shout out more people along the way, but I need to talk about stuff. These first couple encounters are always fixed. They're the same encounter in the same area, but the result in the encounter will vary from run to run based on the GRN. What I've done is I've actually mapped out every possibility that you can get to a point. I will not accept a run that takes three or more extra turns to clear. That means 2 run fails maximum in the this first set of 4 encounters. So I know exactly, like, I also know there are certain bad combinations there that if you get, like, so for instance, if you fail the run on the first encounter and fail the run on the second encounter, then the RNG from there on out is going to be trash, so you can just reset that guy straight away. The prologue has never been skipped. We've just kind of agreed that 39 minutes of penalty can be added. But as you can see, there's approximately 20 to 30 seconds of time save if you do the intro. So I'm doing that to get the maximum time save there. To that end, also, it is possible. So up until this point, what we've been doing is going into the Saturos Minati fight and just immediately fleeing from that fight because, hey, that's what we do. Like, not doing anything is obviously going to be the fastest thing there, but that's not actually the case. In almost every instance, barring 2, it is faster to attack with Isaac because it puts Minati into a better pattern that will kill you faster. So this is one of those seeds. Flee, fail with the Mad Vermin doing defend is a seed where attacking with Isaac will save you about 4 seconds. Because Minati is going to use Nova instead of Saturos and Minati just attacking you. So that's like a neat little optimization that's come in extremely recently. One of the good patterns where you can just defend, or just run away rather, is if you get everything flee first turn. But other than that, almost everything you want to attack with Isaac, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to see that in a little bit. There are some other people that are worth shouting out here as well. Obviously, the FX, who's contributed a lot of really great ideas to this category, in particular, how you train PP. That's going to come into place pretty much all over the place because it's super, super, super useful. And Legrand, who was the first person to really push me to learn proper menuing in this game. And that's kind of resulted in me like taking another look at how we do menus and changed up how I even set up my controller to even do that. And even to this day, like part of the reason this run is good is because I've done that. I've made some adjustments to how I do the menus, and we'll talk about those when we come to them. But let's just say they're really fast. So Prologue, nothing really interesting happening here aside from the fact that we run from everything as fast as we possibly can, and we're going to attack against Saturos and Minati because that's going to give us better RNG. No doubt I'm missing other people, but now I'm thinking about the run, so I'm a little bit distracted. Yeah.
And most of these things as well is like just a second pair of eyes as well. Because it's really simple things sometimes that some people just forget about, and then it takes the other person to point out that they're really simple things.
Yeah.
To improve your time.
Yeah. Totally. No, that's completely correct. Like having to evaluate what you're doing and like do it better when you already think you're doing it as well as you can be really difficult without someone else coming in with a fresh pair of eyes. So there we go. We attack with Isaac, and that actually gets Minati into Nova, and that's a much faster way of dying. For reference, Fretzy's time has a 620 death to Saturos Minati. So we're still like 9 seconds ahead of the second best time at this point, and that's all because we're doing this. One of the reasons is because we're doing this first set of encounter manipulation. So now we do the 3 years later segment. There's nothing too interesting to say here. We've got a bit more cutscenes. But let's talk a little bit more about what this run's actually going to do. So the big thing I want to talk about is the differences between the run now and when Werster ran it, because Werster's time is just completely different, like totally different. In fact, there are exactly 2 segments that are the same in this run as Werster's run, and those differences have come from like 6 years, like literally 6 years of hard work on like my behalf and a bunch of other people as well to try and like really drive this game forward. All the people I've shouted out, like Bao, FX, Fretzy, Zedanigi, all contributed ideas to make this as good as it can be. Now, well, the first difference is actually coming up almost immediately. That log that's on screen right now, that log is the source of a 1 second time save. What we can do is we can use the technique that FX reminded us that existed to drain PP on that log rather than draining PP in the Sanctum, and that turns out to save about a second once you account for movement and the extra move that you need to do on the log, but we'll see that when we come to it, which is just after this little blob. Let's get back to the big picture though. The big differences between this run and Werster's run is skipping Hydros. Skipping Hydros means that pretty much the experience route in the whole second half of the game is totally different. It dramatically changes Colosso because you lack level 13, so you don't have Planet Diver or Ragnarok or anything to clear that, so that becomes a lot more difficult. And otherwise, and also we skip the Ninja Hood, and skipping the Ninja Hood is pretty useful. Oh, it's unclear if it was faster, but I have made it so that it is faster. The only other major difference is the BRN manipulation that we're going to do. So because back in the emulator days we didn't penalize for hard reset, there was no incentive to not hard reset, right? Because you guaranteed attacks first and voila, you get through the game really fast. But now that since we're doing this and it's all like the GBA BIOS file loading screen, that actually does contribute to time now, there's an incentive to soft reset as much as we can. And that's brought forth a bunch of really interesting ideas around BRM manipulation and using that to go really fast. And we'll do that. We'll cover that once we get to it. That'll be much later on. Really, nothing interesting is going to happen in this intro for a long time, so might as well stack it full of interesting tidbits. Is there any other major differences? I think that's the big differences. Aside from that, the basic route's still the same. Like, you're still going to get the Assassin Blade, you're still going to kill everything with the Assassin Blade, you're still going to go as fast as you possibly can. We use Weaken a lot more in this run now, but that's pretty much a minor thing that helps speed up some of the fights. But beyond the major things, like the major route and path and stuff is pretty much the same up to those fairly big divergences. Everything else is just better optimized and executed at a far better level and things like that. So we'll talk about all that as we come to it. So we'll just wait up here for Dora to tell us to get on our way. And of course, chat, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I don't have to concentrate on the run, which is really nice, so I can just answer anything that comes up. So Garrett makes a fool of himself. There's an interesting detail in this cutscene, actually. Jenna jumps around the roof, while Garrett just walks over the roof and implies that he's going to create holes, which is kind of cool. Boggles the mind that runners are still finding time saves and optimizations. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The most recent set of optimizations for this game were found on Christmas, the 23rd, I think. Not Christmas Day, but like the 23rd or the 26th or the 27th, somewhere plus minus 2 days around Christmas time. And those have been fully incorporated into this run. I'll point them out when we get to them. Alright, so as I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the log and drain our PP on the log, because it's just faster to do that. Using move takes about a second and a half, where cancelling move on a log takes about half a second. So we're going to use 8 moves here. Now Isaac will always have 18 PP. In fact, it doesn't matter what you do, Isaac will always have the same amount of PP regardless of what file you start with and RNG level ups you get, which is kind of nice. So 18 PP minus 8 moves is 2 PP. So I currently have 2 PP on Isaac. I need to do the retreat glitch in Soul Sanctum, which means that I need less than 6 PP. So why do I go to 2 instead of 4? Well, the reason I go to 2 is that I'm going to generate 3 ticks of PP recovery going into Soul Sanctum. And by the time I get to the point where I want to use retreat, I can just go into retreat mode there and do my mumbo jumbo there. So despite having to use an extra move on that log, it's about 1 second faster than using 7 moves in Soul Sanctum, which is a kind of a neat little time save. You take everything you can get in this category. So Kraden's gonna jump about for a bit, be a dude. There is no RNG level up that can cause a problem in this run get dunked on. Nothing at all, which is kind of nice. There used to be one in the route immediately after Werster's one, where if you got bad RNG on Isaac, the Fusion Dragon would just kill you. Wait, maybe I'm thinking of any percent. I don't know. But anyway, there was at least a time, like maybe Baal can remember, there was a time when there was like bad RNG on Isaac would be really, really bad. Are the level ups manipped? Yes and no. So anytime I'm in control of the GRN, the level ups will be controlled and I'll know what I'm getting. But I'm never actually manipulating for stats because I don't need to. But on certain fights like Saturos, Kraken, Manticore to some extent, the level ups won't be predetermined and they can just be random. And there's no way of manipulating them either because you can never tell where you're at. So we got to get up to Soul Sanctum here. There's a neat little trick here that I worked out, like a neat little setup. You can run left into this wall and you won't go up. And then you just run up and you're immediately in the right place you're basically as far as you can be without triggering the dude to come back. So as soon as that guy turns the corner, you can just run straight ahead and continue on our way. It's a nice little setup there. Alright, Soul Sanctum. As I mentioned before, we're going to go do a retreat warp here. it's important here that I save in the bottom slot. It saves like inputs, and Tidnigi reminded us that this was a good idea to do, so we're going to do this. And reset really fast. Anytime you soft reset with no save data, the soft reset comes out really fast. And
yeah, it's like instant basically. You don't have to wait at all.
And it's even better because you can just press the import and it buffers it, so it'll reset as fast as it possibly can. Hey, Critical Sid, how you doing, man? So yeah, all in all this new tech in the intro saves quite a lot of time, actually. It's quite cool. And now we get into the marathon of cutscenes. So this is the absolute best place to talk about crap and ask questions and things like that. Thank you, Sid. Much appreciated.
I wanted to quickly point out that in Meatless, I do actually manipulate a lot of stats on several fights. But that's obviously not 100.
Yeah, but that's because Meatless is a bad category.
No, it's because I'm stupid and I stick to my Manticore strat where I need Garrett to have a specific amount of agility.
Ah, okay. Oh, that makes sense. There is one fight where I get good RNG level ups, but it's kind of by coincidence. It's useful though. On Forge, I believe people get good level ups off that, and that helps with Saturos, I believe. I don't know, been a while. Been a while since I looked into that one. Yeah, this here is just all trying to move good. You want to get into a place where you can jump diagonally right. I always jump diagonally left because I'm really bad at setting it up. I should just not try it, but I always do because I'm terrible like that. Is there a minimum time to this game? I think there is RNG in this category, and that means that there was always the potential for a better run if you get better RNG, which is just a consequence of the game, really. I have an idea of a good time in this game and what I want to. I think I might try for it, and I have an idea of what would be like the God run as well. And I think it'd be a good time to discuss that once we see what the end time is.
I want to add in that despite RNG being a high factor, the text boxes actually are a factor as well. So the better you precisely mash text boxes away, the more time you can save.
Oh yeah, totally. Every text box can be cleared one frame, the frame before the last word is displayed. So you can lose between 1 to 3 frames on every text box, and there's a lot of text boxes in this game. So multiply that by 600 odd, and you have a pretty decent chunk of time. That's how many is that? Over a minute. No, there's literally minutes to be saved lost on bad text boxes. This game has so much text.
So when I only play for the text boxes, I just want to, whenever I get a boss fight, I'm like, ugh, where's the text box?
Yeah, well, you should just run no intro, man. You should just run bad ending %.
Oh yeah, that's the good one.
The best category.
Teeth. Ball.
I mean, Frost, if you're worried about not hearing the furious text mashing, I could get my controller and start mashing it away at it if it makes you feel better about your life. I prefer not to give my hand further injury, but we can live with that. Christ. Where's my controller? That's what I'd be doing right now. Like, this game is, like, really bad for your hands, man. Like, it's so bad.
Why do you think I use a keyboard instead? Oh my god.
Yeah, the claw grip is just like, oh my fucking god.
Like, when you with fingers on
triple mashing and...
Yeah, I mean, I do the, like, arm vibration to, like, get the mashing right. Like, I don't know. If it wasn't for, like, the Wii VC, like, I don't know if I'd be able to run this game properly. It'd be too bad on my hands. So I guess there's a point to be made here about yes and no dialogue boxes. Almost every instance in this game, saying yes is better than saying no. First reason being that the yes animation is about 30 frames faster than the no animation, and additionally to that, usually the no responses have a longer dialogue as well, so you never want to say no usually. There are a couple exceptions, we'll point them out. There's like 5 or 6 exceptions. Excluding Colosso, obviously.
Always say no to Bonza.
No, you don't want to do that. You want to say yes, yes, no, yes, yes to Bonza. But anyway, we'll come to Bonza later on. There are a couple text boxes in here where saying no is like really bad, and we passed one of them already. It just adds like a shitload more dialogue. The worst one is after you pick up the Jupiter Star. If you say no there, then Garrett like knocks you away and steals the Jupiter Star off you. And that adds like not only extra time in him knocking you away, but you're also further away from where you want to be, so it costs more movement time. It's really, really awful.
Don't die, Plexa.
I'm trying not to die, guys. And you get dunked on is correct. There's an instance in TLA where saying no to everything makes Kraken blow up. That's every yes-no dialogue box prior to Lemuria. I guess all there is to say is that picking up the Mercury Star is surprisingly difficult. Like, I can't count the number of times where I've accidentally opened the menu instead of picking up the star. Like, it looks really simple. You just have to go upright and then up into the statue and press A. But it is absurdly difficult.
As is the case with many items in this game, actually. Just
Yeah,
walk
like,
up and click A. Yeah, but not really.
I mean, a lot of them are like really good. Like, the rocks in Alt Muller Cave are really responsive and really nice. But some of them are like switches, and the switches are not nice. Alright, so we picked up the Jupiter Star, and we look at the timer and go, wow, we still have another 15 minutes of mashing. It's, yeah. It's a thing. You just kind of get used to it. I guess this is a good time to discuss random crap because there's a lot of mashing to go. But I've been thinking that maybe the 39-minute penalty for a no intro run is possibly too lenient towards no intro. That was set at a time where like a 38-40 leaving Soul Sanctum was like the god Soul Sanctum. So a more realistic Soul Sanctum leave Veil time was 38-50. Throw on the fact that you can't control the RNG leaving Veil. That tacks on, you know, another 10 seconds in possible RNG, plus like bad Bandit RNG, things like that. Maybe the scales have been tipped too much in the no intro fair. Maybe we need to look at adding another 10 seconds or 15 seconds to that. But I don't know. That's something we'll have to talk about and discuss. Now that I've like optimized the beginning of the game a little bit better, it's less of a big deal because like clearly like my 3858 had a 3834 leaving veil, which is like 26 seconds of buffer, so throw in 10 seconds for the RNG, and you know you're 15 seconds ahead. That's not so bad. But maybe in the future we'll adjust that a little bit. It's also one of the reasons why I want to get back into any percent at some point. Just do an intro run of any percent, just to capitalize on the time save and you know, fix the small mistake I have. Have better execution, do better routing. There's a lot of routing things that we can do in any percent, I think.
You probably get sub 340, 240 if you do intro as well, and then have like the perfect run for any percent.
Yeah. So that would be like a sub 320 with intro, which would be pretty cool. It's certainly possible because you take 20 seconds of time save here, plus stuff, plus better routing, skipping some more Djinn. I think we should skip more Djinn in any percent, so I'm gonna look into that. But yeah.
I think for me, Alice, I can probably get sub 250 actually.
Mm.
With my latest route.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. 39.5 minutes to be fair, yeah.
It can still be faster as well.
Mm.
So there's still so much like to optimize in all of the freaking routes.
Yeah, so like...
Because right now is...
There you go.
Yeah? Well, right now, for example, I'm still doing a hard reset on Kraken. And it could at least be a soft reset, but it could also just be a no reset and just do Kraken. But the reason I'm hard resetting is because I'm manipulating like the jargon on that as well, so it's like always the same fight, but there's no reason to do that. So I should just like at least make it a soft reset.
Yeah, like there's always like the thing about this game is you can always dive into it and be like, hey, I can optimize this bit of the game a bit better. I mean, as optimized as I've gotten in this category, like there's a huge room for potential improvements in the before Saturos stuff, right? Like, we do it in such a way that Saturos is basically safe, but maybe we could get Granite earlier, maybe we can use Ramses all over the place, maybe that'll speed things up. I don't know, but like there are very interesting questions that we need to ask ourselves about this. Like, another point, getting the Water of Life costs 17 seconds. In exchange, you can buy a ton of armor, which basically prevents death on Saturos anyway. So does that mean the fights we take before Saturos are no longer needed? Like, who knows? Big questions. Yeah, get dunked on. Saying no in Veil Sanctum is what we call bad ending percent. Baal has the record by default because no one else is insane enough to run that category. And you basically have to play in Japanese to get a good time. I think it still takes like 34 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's faster than that. Let me take a look.
It might be 34 minutes with English. But yeah. I don't know, we'll have the 39-minute conversation at some point.
Actually, it's 32. You're
32,
right.
There we go. Yeah, so like, eventually the community will come together and it'll be like, should we move the time? Yes, no, maybe. And go from there. I don't think it really affects anything. I don't think, like, everything in any percent is all without intro, and everything in all Djinn is basically with intro, so it shouldn't change anything other than just what the final time on the leaderboard is. But yeah, that was a good way to kill time while we had the Saturos Minati party just steal all our stuff.
And there's always, by the way, the like when the times get really competitive and to a point where it's really hard to get time saves from just playing better. There's always still this type of thing that I'm already like sort of implementing sometimes, where you manipulate Colima Forest or you manipulate freaking Mogul Forest, that kind of thing, where it's like not always like it doesn't always work, but if it
Oh,
works, then you're saving a bunch of. If it works, then you're saving a bunch of
sure.
time. So maybe that becomes a thing.
That's not going to be a thing at all, Djinn. To a point. There may be a couple hard resets that you can cut, but all the hard resets, to my knowledge, save time over a soft reset at present. With one exception, the first one in Tret, you could make it a soft reset, but then you have to worry about Zephyr fleeing, Breeze fleeing, and Breeze, he likes to run away a lot, so we just hard reset to make sure that never happens. I actually get dunked on it as the bad ending, because Saturos and Minardi never are able to complete their mission because they get turned into dragons by the Wise One.
No, but that's a conscious choice by them to fight you. Oh, you mean
No,
the Mars
that's
Lighthouse?
true.
Mars Lighthouse.
No, the
yeah.
Mars Lighthouse. Is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had this theoretical discussion in the Golden Sun Reddit the other day. But, like, very clearly, they should be able to light all of the lighthouses except for the Mars Lighthouse, where the Wise One would have just interfered and stopped them.
I mean, they also don't have the Mars.
Oh yeah, they don't have the Mars Star, but you assume that they'd come back to Vale and kill people and get it back off them.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Alex would be cunning enough to come up with a good plan to just get what he wants, because he kind of always gets what he wants, more or less.
Yeah, and I mean, it's canon that Isaac left home for a reason, right? And whoa, we got like 20 seconds of game, like 10 seconds of gameplay there. We got to use retreat and run out of the game, run out of the dungeon. Nice. But that's fine.
Well,
Whatever.
yeah, there's a nuance as well that if you mash through the retreat text box thingy faster, then the retreat animation speeds up as well.
Oh, I did not know that one. Are you sure that's not just lag? Because, like, there are a couple rooms in the game where retreat is really, really laggy. Saying no here is really dumb, by the way. If you say no, you get close to Vale Sanctum, but you walk slower to Vale Sanctum. Saying yes puts you further away from Vale Sanctum, but makes you walk faster, and ends up being faster because you end up getting there earlier because you're walking faster. It's really dumb. Like, it's like the developers went out of their way to make no the slower option. It's really, really amazing. Anyway, sorry, rant over.
No, I was just saying that, at least for in like Sleet, is it Sleet? Yeah, it's Sleet.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah, surely that's called Sleet, that Djinn. Yeah. In that room, I at least, it looks to me like sometimes my retreat is really slow.
Interesting. I'll have a look into that.
Like, he holds his hands up a bit longer.
So there are some fun things you can do if you hate yourself. So in Calais, if you cast Reveal before using Move on the thing that blocks Scorch's Cave, it's really, really, really laggy. Or if you're at the top of Gaia Rock after getting the idol, if you try to retreat out after getting the idol, now note that you have to be in Reveal to get the idol, then retreat is really, 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 really laggy. So you actually want to cancel Reveal there to get out fast. I'm pretty sure I put that in the TLA No 7 quick notes as well. Oh, RIP, now we're starting to drop frames, that's not good. Yay for Australian internet. But this is also why you make local recordings of things, obviously. Anyway, more dialogue. And then once we get out of here, we also have more dialogue when we get through Flint. Hey Sankey, how's it going?
I just noticed Lester has said, like, Tazron win, and it's like, I think, what was his name, was working on it,
Right.
but then he had, like, desync issues.
Yeah, he had desyncs.
Yeah, Rudolph was working on it, but then he had desyncs, and it was really awkward.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to actually make a task of this game.
You can do it
There
in...
is a task from a Japan.
Yeah, no, there is a task. But yeah, like desyncs are always an issue when you're tasking anything. And I think he went from VBA
I think
to
the
Game Dead or
task
something.
that's like is this.
The task that exists is bad, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's really slow. Like it doesn't really. I don't know.
I mean, sure,
Whenever I see that.
it is slow, but that's the only reason why we know of the snowman glitch, the best glitch in the game.
It's not true though. That was a Japanese run. There was
But we didn't know about the snowman before, didn't we?
not before the Japanese guy, no, but that wasn't a task.
But it was not a task? I thought it was a task.
No, it wasn't a task. The tasks came later. The first task of this game ever made was Golden Sun any % no retreat glitch.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, and it was rejected from task videos because it was dumb. The second task ever made.
Oh, rip.
The second task ever made was Golden Sun any % with retreat glitch. That one was accepted, and it's like 3:14 or something.
Oh, the stream is getting a little
RIP-ish.
jump jittery here and there. Yeah.
I might just restart the stream really quick. Good thing I'm keeping the local recording going though. Like this is like one of the reasons I'm like the offline stuff is so good for me right now, with damn Australian internet being stupid. Oh god, it looks like really rip.
Yeah, I think it just died.
Yeah, let me fix that really quickly. Just update the chat that we're working on it. Like it's not even connecting to Twitch anymore. That's really bad. Yeah, it's like not connecting to Twitch. Uh-oh. Panic mode. Oh no, it's back. Okay, there we go. Whew. Problem resolved, hopefully. Alright, we're back. We didn't miss anything, don't worry. And you can get all of my panic in the YouTube bot afterwards. But we haven't missed anything because it's just text and nothing interesting.
Confirmed spliced.
There is one moment.
Spliced wrong, baby rage.
Here's a spoiler, right? There is one moment in this run that anybody who's run Golden Sun will demand that this run is spliced, but I assure you it is not.
How so? And where is it?
When you see it, you'll know it.
It all depends on the internet, though.
Oh, that's true. All right, so we're gonna leave Vale.
You could at least say which split it is.
It's way later, like 3 hours time.
It's like, so you're like
so
in Venus 1 or something.
Okay, so we leave Vale. Now, up until really recently, what I've been doing after this is running down with Isaac, then hugging the mountain to try and stay in that green range. When you're in a forest, the step counter increases much faster than if you're not in a forest. So the logic is, you hug the mountain, stay in the green bit, and then get to vault, and hopefully generating the least amount of encounter step as possible, and hopefully skipping an encounter. High Spirits, who's any % no save and quit runner, was running kind of all the way around the forest to avoid the encounter stuff. And I was like, dude, that's slow, you should do it my way. And he's like, but you might get an encounter by doing that, so why don't you just minimize the amount of step counter you generate by just never entering the forest? So I was like, okay, let's have a look into this. It turns out that at the measly cost of 0.1 of a second, you can generate way less encounter step by just holding down after this tutorial segment. And it gets you very, very close to... it gets you to vault, generating the least amount of encounter step possible, and avoids a fight maybe 1 in 10 runs that would have otherwise got a fight. And I think 0.1 of a second is a worthwhile trade for getting a 1 in 10, avoiding a 1 in 10 encounter, which could be upwards of 3 seconds. 3 seconds if you get good RNG, up to like 10 seconds with worst case RNG. Possibly, actually you could probably get even worse than that, but I've never had anything worse than 10.
Isn't that what any percent does anyway, by the way? Just hold down?
No, any percent hugs the mountain, so I run down there, see? Or maybe there's a bit of
I always
delay.
just run down.
Yeah, so running down is confirmed. Well, it's 0.1 slower than hugging the mountain, but optimal in terms of step counter. So if you're not controlling the RNG, then it's faster just to run down. If you are in control of the RNG, in which case no intro run would be, then that is suboptimal because you don't need to do that. You can just hug the mountain. So you're losing 0.1 of a second.
I'm being confused actually. I think I'm actually being confused with what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I haven't done it in a while.
Pretty sure you do the hug mountain strat, because I've only been holding down like a month ago, maybe a month and a half. Whenever High Spirits was doing runs, I think it was only a month ago now. Anyway, it's really interesting, all these like micro optimizations that have crept into this run since the last time I did it. So we're coming into a vault. The gimmick here is that we need to catch the bandits in the inn. This old lady always gets in the way, like, and that woman got in the way this time as well, like, ridiculous. Werster never got this nut. Now, this nut is actually really, really useful. It basically makes the Saturos fight a good 3% safer. So instead of 96% safe, no, instead of 94% safe, it becomes 97% safe. So it's really, really useful to grab it. Do you ever grab the mint from the inn? Yes, we do.
Always.
Even Werster got the mint. The mint is not new. The mint allows Ivan to outspeed Saturos, which is super valuable and getting us priority heal, basically. So Werster doesn't get the nut. With the revised Saturos strategy, that basically guarantees the fight will go our way. Moreover, the nut can be useful later on Fusion Dragon, but we'll visit that when we get there. So the Bandit chase, there is an optimal way to do it, and Werster gets the optimal pattern and allows him to do it. And you only get that pattern about 60% of the time, but he asserted that you get it far more than that. So he's obviously just really, really lucky, or small sample size or something. But yeah, he got it in his run, and that takes about 7 seconds or 8 seconds or something to do. The safer strat is to do what I do, and that can lose anywhere from about 1 second to about 4 seconds, depending on how bad the RNG is. If you get Werster's RNG, it loses a second. If you don't get Werster's RNG, then it can lose you more than that. But with Werster's strategy here, you'd lose far more if you got bad RNG. So what we do is we just take the safe strat, and just hope that it works out. Now, I get identical RNG here to my PB, which is the 358, which is to say I get bad RNG. The good news is that if we did Werster's strategy, which is basically run left below the bottom bed where the purple thief is about now, wait for the brown guy to come down, then go left, then trap him behind with Ivan. Werster's strategy would have not worked there, and he would have lost 20 seconds trying to fix that, because fixing Ivan going the wrong way is just a massive headache. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, I don't know what the BRN is at the moment. Well, I do, but the strategy for the bandits at this point is too slow. So I'm going to hard reset. And this is going to reset the BRN back to 0, and it's going to put the thieves in a favorable pattern when I fight them. It means they're not going to use herbs nearly as often. It means they're going to do a predictable series of attacks. It means no one's going to die during the fight. So do that hard reset there, and it just so happens that doing the hard reset there saves the most amount of time. You could do it after getting Ivan to ensure good bandit RNG, but in the best case scenario, you still lose like a second or something, so it's just not worth it. Sorry, no. In the average scenario, you lose 1 second, but in the best case scenario, you save like 2 seconds. So it's just better to do the hard reset there. Gives you better control over the bandit fight as well. They usually double into Garrett, or go into Ivan and Garrett. This fight, I believe, is different to Werster's. It's the same basic fight, except that instead of attacking with Garrett on the last turn, I'm going to use Flare. And I do that for a very specific reason. It sets up the beer in a little bit later, and I'll discuss that when we get there. If you attack with Garrett on the last turn, he also does the critical animation, and the critical animation is about as slow as Flare. So realistically, the strategies are about the same speed. So you don't really lose any time from it, and of course the follow-up to that is much better, so that's why we do it. So first actual fight of the game, open with AoEs and stuff, because it makes sense to do it. And these two thieves are just going to attack. They double into Garrett, which is pretty much what usually happens, and then we just continually attack them. Attack Flare Ray until they die. So this fight will always happen this way because we did that hard reset in the end. So the end of that fight was gross. I shouldn't have lost 4 seconds on this split, but hey, it happens. The reason why I only lost 2 seconds was because my PB had an encounter on the way to Vault, and while that encounter I flew from it. Obviously that missed menu or missed inputs at the end of that fight were just super gross. I don't know how much that cost, but it was more than a second. Like, I was not intentionally checking anything. I was trying to use Flare on Garrett. But I used attack and then cancelled too many times, and yeah, it was just gross. But it's okay. Like, as I explained a while ago, my goal splits are set up in such a way that it's sum of best plus an acceptable margin for error, and there's 10 seconds of acceptable error in this first split. Now usually that 10 seconds is because of RNG on the bandit chase and the fights leading into the bandits, but I guess if you get good RNG to Vault and then meh RNG on the bandits and screw up the bandit fight, like, you're still ahead of goal. So despite being behind PB, I was okay at this point. I know there's a lot of time save left in this. I guess I should discuss at this point where the time saves in PB, broadly speaking, are. There's a huge RNG loss at Tret, bad encounters in Colima, I got an encounter before Breeze there, and then after Tret, I screwed up the BRM manipulation on Tret, so then I lost more time in the Killer Ape split because of that. So there's about 30-40 seconds to save there. And then the only other big mistake is at the end of the game where there's a 2-minute time loss in Saturos Minati because I didn't have flash on the right person. So, boom. That's the summary of the PB. Alrighty. So, another big difference coming up to Werster's run. So what Werster will do here is he'll just run out of Vault and run to Goma Cave. Now this is fine. You have pretty good odds to run from anything, and you know it's faster than just doing a reset or whatever and controlling the RNG. Now, the consequence of doing that, though, is that you no longer understand what the BRN is at that point. The BRN being the battle random number, and which determines what attacks are being used. That means he has to hard reset outside Goma Cave. And because hard resets weren't penalized, there's really no disincentive to do that. I'd like to avoid hard resetting there, so I want to use a soft reset. Now, I really should have had the damn FAQ or explained GR and BRN at some point, but I'm just going to assume people somewhat familiar with them at this point. If you know Golden Sun, you should be fairly familiar with them. I rant on about them enough. Maybe I'll explain it later on or something. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to soft reset here, which is going to keep my BRN but reset my GRN. So that means I know exactly what encounter I'm going to get and how to run from it. And that'll also generate the same amount of BRN consistently, etc, etc, etc. Moral of the story is, by the time I get to Goma Cave, I can just do a soft reset. So while doing that reset there costs time, because I know what the BRN is by the time I get to Goma Cave, I can soft reset. That saves enough time that this strategy is on par with an average run to Goma Cave. Optimally, it'd be better to just run to Goma Cave, but the way that this is done works out to be faster than the average, so it's on average better to do this. And hell, you don't want to reset after 50 minutes because you got bad RNG after Vault. That just feels bad, man. I think I've actually had a run die, because way back in the day we used to do that, just run to Goma Cave. I'm pretty sure I've had a run die where Garrett got killed by a random mob or something. That really feels bad. Anyway, this strat's good. So I'm pretty sure Werster was using this tech back in his run. The only thing here is that using Whirlwind or Move on an object will generate an inconsistent number of GRN, and that means you don't know what the next encounter is going to be. So in order to get back in control of the GRN, we have to do a soft reset here, or a hard reset if you don't know the BRN. And once we do that, we then are in control of what encounters we get, and we can escape from them optimally. So this is the first real segment of clean RNG manipulation. I mean, we had a little bit before where we ran from the slime, but this is a little bit more extended. So I'm going to use this Whirlwind, then we're going to save, soft reset. Again, saving into blank slots so that we can take advantage of the soft reset being faster. Then we're going to get a zombie mob. We're going to two attack cancel on the zombie mob. Now, every time you input an attack, that adds one general random number, or GRN. And whether you flee or not is determined by what GRN you happen to be on. So we can do attacks and cancel them to advance the RNG in such a way that we're able to flee from a fight. Get this mob, 0 AC, we run from it. So if you ever hear me ranting about ACs, that's what they are, they're attack cancels. Now usually it's optimal to use to push a lock, but we need to drain PP, because we're going to be doing a retreat warp. So I'm going to use move here a bunch to drain my PP as fast as I can, while also solving this puzzle. Do a couple of move cancels, and now we're in retreat range. Well, we have less than 6 PP, and we can just soft reset again and get out of there. Next up, we're going to get a skeleton.
Oh, you walked pretty far.
Yeah,
I just noticed you
it doesn't
walked
matter.
pretty far.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Get a skeleton when I see the skeleton. Okay, so now here's the reason why we use Flare on the Bandit fight instead of attack. Using Flare gives us attacks first on this encounter here, allowing us to basically blast through and hit him really hard with stuff and he can't hit us back. Garrett obviously is in danger, he's got 20 HP, but with this particular GR and BRN combination, Forge always attacks Ivan. So that's good, because Ivan always gets healed, so he's always going to take 10 points of damage, and we can use that later on to heal it off. So that whole sequence was set up from the Bandit fight when we did that hard reset, soft resetting to keep the BRN to this point, which gives us attacks first, so that's fast, attack, which is the fastest thing that Forge can do, and then it's dead. It's like super optimal. Plus, you don't get an encounter afterwards. Like, insanely different. In Werster's run, he hard reset, so he doesn't get those benefits, but he can at least still control what Forge is doing. Obviously, the hard reset costs time, whereas we got to save that with a soft reset. Alright, coming into Bilibin, nothing much has changed in Bilibin for some time. We get in here, we sell the Bandit Sword, we buy the Broadsword for Garrett. Fun fact, if you actually sell the Bandit Sword, you have enough to buy armor for people, and that's something I'm going to look at to make Saturos safer in some of these lower level attempts on him. Obviously that comes at the price of not having a Broadsword on Garrett, but yeah, we can work around that. Come back here to get... what's his name? Get Gust. And then we're going to hard reset after this. Now we could soft reset, but as far as we know, using a hard reset here and taking the 6-second penalty to do so gives you better RNG coming after the fact. This is a commentary over an off-stream VOD, it is. So I do specific movement here to get out of Bilibin in a specific way. That's going to set up for this next encounter to be a rat mob. Now if you leave Bilibin too fast, you get a zombie skeleton mob. I had to 1 attack cancel that mob. If you get the zombie skeleton, you have to do 7 attack cancels. It doesn't matter though, because they both converge to the same strategy afterwards. But that's what happens if you go too fast. You get zombie skeleton and you cry about it. So we had 2 encounters on our way to Bilibin Cave. Next up we're going to get the Elven Shirt. Now actually, way back in the day, we used to get the Elven Shirt. There's going to be a bunch of twinkly sparkly stuff. That twinkly sparkly stuff is actually generating random numbers. We'd get the Elven Shirt and then just cancel out of it, then save reset to get back in control of the GRN. But it makes a lot more sense just to sit there and wait for the animation to complete. So we could have cancelled that earlier, but then we'd lose where the GRN is, and we wouldn't be able to predict what encounters comes next. So just by waiting for that animation, we get to do that. Now we're going to take one of the few non-mandatory fights in the game. We take this fight because it gets Isaac to no Earthquake, and that's greatly advantageous for what's to come. This segment, actually, from Bilibin through to Imil, hasn't changed since basically ever. It was one of the first manipulations we ever developed in this game, like full stop. So it's amazing that this particular segment's existed for like so long. With one difference. The difference is going to be after this. I'm not going to take a step after using the mint on Ivan. Sorry, before using the mint. Now what I did there, so the mint can give you a random level up of 4, 5, or 6 agility on someone. If you take a step after leaving Bilibin Cave, the mint will generate 6 agility. I generated 5 agility there by not taking a step, and that's going to be useful later on. We'll come to why in a moment. But I get 1 less agility than Werster would have got. Final boss, picking up the lucky medal. Picking up the lucky medal is way harder than it looks. We can cancel move on the snowman. That knocks off his hat, and the hat now is on the ice, and we can just bounce off it. Earlier you may have heard Baal talking about the snowman glitch. This is the snowman glitch, found by a Japanese runner. Name has long eluded me, but very cool. Saves fraction of a second, but it's amazing. So Mercury Lighthouse is fun. Pretty sure we're still using the same basic idea as Werster here, so nothing too out of the ordinary. we're still gonna retreat warp, get out of bounds, get a triple siren fight, manipulate for a crystal powder, kill Sleet, and then do Saturos. So not too many differences here. One of the few differences will be, though, the Saturos fight. Werster used a better strategy than I had back in the day, but then when Baal actually was practicing for ESA, we went nuts trying to find a consistent Saturos strategy so that we didn't lose millions of years to dying to Saturos. And we actually developed a consistent Saturos strategy. And then I looked further into it and refined it a little bit further, and then this consistent strategy actually ended up being about a second faster than Werster's strategy. So yay for fast, consistent strategies. Now it is possible to 7-turn Saturos, but it's actually slower than doing 8 turns with more optimal move selection. Like you use slower moves to 7-turn him than you do in the 8-turn fight, so we just do the 8-turn. I think it works out to about 2 seconds slower or something. Double move cancel on the statue there. I need to do a retreat warp after this, so I need to get Isaac's PP below 6. I can heal Garrett and Ivan for 6. And I have, 22 PP, I think? 25. There we go. So after double move cancel and heal, I have 12 PP. Going into the Lizard Fighter fight, what I can do is I can use Earthquake, and Earthquake costs 7, that'll put me at 5, which is below 6, so the PP management works out pretty well here. Previous strategies would have damage on Isaac and Garrett from Forge, but it just turns out that doing it this way is slightly faster than doing it that way. So now we're going to go over to the right, use retreat, save, reset. Now this is an instance where we probably could use a soft reset, but we really want the attacks first on the Siren fight so that we can not die to them and clear the fight in a fast way. So first up, got to heal Isaac here, no big deal. Set some Djinn, save the game in a different slot. We'll return to why that's important later. But for the time being, saving the game there changes the rate at which the encounters are being generated. Generates a little bit faster, and with that slight divergence in movement, by the time I get the Siren encounter, it's directly outside Sleet's room and I don't have to waste time running around. So that's another cute little optimization that's actually really useful later on. So this fight hasn't changed, same deal, but pretty scary. So here what I'm going to do after this fight is, so I'm going to get the crystal powder after Garrett kills it. I'm going to walk into the waterfall. If I take a step before the waterfall, I have to do a different strategy because that generates random numbers. No step, so I don't have to worry about it. Set Djinn, heal Garrett and Ivan only, because the way this fight works out is that Sleet never hits Isaac, so healing him is suboptimal. Now, Baal actually refuses to learn this strategy because he always does the one that will always work, which makes you heal Isaac but you double attack cancel on the first turn. But as long as you pay attention to whether or not you take the step, you can get away with not healing Isaac, and that's fine. But you know, if people want to do the safer way, you can do that.
I'm just old school guy.
I've actually never had a problem with taking this step because I never end up taking a step. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also never take a step. It's not hard. But
no.
Still, I don't know. I adopted this strategy.
No, you're not even You're not even an old school guy, Baal. You just do the safe strategy on that one, because this strategy came before the 2AC strategy.
Oh really?
Yeah, but you only ever learned the 2AC because sometimes the strategy would fail, and we never worked out why until we realized it was when you took a step that made it fail. Alright,
Not skipping Mia, shaking my head.
So now we're going to get Mia finally. We've basically done everything we need to do in Mercury Lighthouse except kill Saturos, so now we finally get Mia at the end. heal everybody up, do a little menu. Give Garrett that crystal powder we just got, and then go and face the big bad boy, Saturos. So I mentioned before that the 8-turn Saturos is faster than the 7-turn Saturos, and that's because in the 8-turn, we are able to do things like defend Garrett turn 1, defend Isaac turn 5, defend Ivan turn 7, and because we're choosing to use more efficient attacks, plus defending a whole bunch, it saves just like a ton of time. It's crazy, to the point where even adding in the input time on the 8th turn, like, it's still faster than the 7th turn. It's kind of a similar situation to the Manticore, where a 2-turn Manticore strategy exists, but it's actually slower than the 3-turn because, again, you're using less optimal attacks, using things like Cybele, which are slow. But yeah, Saturos is a guy. I think back in the day when Werster was doing this, I think we had a 80% chance to win the fight, but it certainly felt more like 60% chance to win the fight because Saturos he's just a huge jerk, right? If he goes in on someone, then that person dies. With the nut and stuff, the only way we lose this fight is if Saturos' attack focuses on Isaac or Mia on every turn which matters, which is turn 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think. In any case, it's astronomically unlikely for him to kill us, but, it's happened. So, Saturos, notorious run killer, how did we make this guy safe? We found a way to manipulate the battle random number, or the BRN, to guarantee that if Saturos hits 4 people with Fireball on the 3rd turn, that his attack will miss. And because of that, we can safely heal people after the Fireball. So using these specific actions, including the defend with Garrett, will guarantee that we get that miss. And then regardless of the result afterwards, Saturos' attack on turn 7 will also miss, regardless of the previous, whether it was 3 Fireball or 4 Fireball or whatever. So that's why the strategy will work. So Saturos only hit 3 people, no big deal. Saturos' attack will connect. Mia's in a dangerous HP range here, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the nut that we attempted earlier on Mia for that reason. That just means that there's no chance that Mia can get killed if Saturos attacks and then fireballs her on the next turn. This fight's actually really impressive.
If I remember correctly, I only got the nut in the first place because sometimes Ivan could die despite being, nearly fully healed.
This was a long time ago, yeah. Now it's Isaac and Mia who can die. So Saturos was a jerk there, by the way. He hit Isaac into critical range. So I had to heal with Ivan and Mia. So we have so much healing power that even a bad thing like that can't hurt us. So Saturos tried to attack someone there and he missed. So that BRM manipulation coming through. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Alright, so that fight's quite interesting. To further optimize this category, one thing that we wanted to do was after Colima, you're going to get random encounters because there's no way you can move through one of the rooms optimally in such a way that the RNG is consistent. So what we wanted to do instead was guarantee that we get attacks first, after... Oh, in the first encounter in Colima. Now, there's two ways to do that. The first way is to hard reset, because that will always give you attacks first. Another way to do it is to manipulate 4 attacks first and soft reset. So, with that in mind, we went away and did a bunch of research on how to make that happen. And by we, I mean me. So what we did was we mapped out every possible BRN combination at the conclusion of the Saturos fight. So the ways in which that can differ is how many people were hit by fireballs and what were the actions required to kill Saturos on the 8th turn. So in this fight, 3 on the first time, 4 on the second time, so 3 hits for the first fireball, 4 on the second fireball, and then Nereid and Venus. Now that I know what BRN I am on, I can soft reset after the Saturos fight. There are 4 encounters between Mercury Lighthouse and the Bilibin Overworld where we can just use a Void. And in that stretch, I'm going to use those encounters to advance my BRN to a point that I'm going to get attacks first on the next encounter after those 4. The way in which that works is that when you get a fight, every enemy contributes 1 BRN extra to that fight. So a party of 2 would contribute 2 extra BRN. A party of 4 would generate 4 BRN extra. So by doing that and changing up the number of enemies I get, I can manipulate the BRN so that all the way later, after a bunch of cutscenes, I'm going to have attacks first, and I'm less likely to die as a result. Yes, Legal 29, let's bring back Golden Sun. Maybe Golden Sun needs to get to a GDQ or something before people will take notice of it again. One day. To this run exactly, Ivan has 24 HP, and that's a scary number. Ideally, you want damage on as many people as possible going into Tret, because you gotta heal and drain PP so that you can do some retreat warps. But Ivan's having 24 HP is too low, so at some point I'll need to heal him. But I think there's damage on Isaac right now as well. That damage doesn't matter, it's only like 10 damage or something, and that's not going to put Isaac into critical range. Just get our Hermes water. Very important in that save menu there to not save in the second slot. You want to save in the top slot. I need to preserve that save file I made in Mercury Lighthouse. That one that I made when I went down the stairs. Because that's going to allow me to do another trick later on. So here's where this manipulation comes in that I was referring to. So we get the gnome, we mind read, we get these gnomes, we attack cancel on them. Then we get into the green room, we save, then 1AC again. And that's going to get us to the point where we need... that's going to get us to the attacks first point. So saving the game adds 2 GRN, so it generates 2 random numbers. That's why we can save the game and change the encounters we get afterwards. We're going to use that a couple times throughout this run. Here's the last one. Alright, so now I've manipulated what the BRN seed is, and the next encounter I get, I'll have attacks first on. But that's not going to be for some time, because what we're going to do is we're going to go into a void, because we're now sufficiently strong that a void will work. So what does a void do? Well, a void basically stops you getting encounters if you're above a certain level threshold. Otherwise, it does nothing. Now, every room in the game has a hard-coded avoid threshold, which is kind of bizarre, but okay. And avoid will work for us up until the second room of Colima. The first room of Colima, it will also work, but after that, it won't work anymore. And this is pretty much the only time in the game where we can use it. So you'll notice here that I'm using avoid in this area, which is not the overworld. Legrand actually showed that using a void in the overworld adds like a couple frames extra of lag. So you save about 0.3 of a second, I want to say, by doing it in a dungeon as opposed to the overworld. Yeah, sorry, get dunked on. The tree people die. They die in every category. I can't even invent a meme category where they live. Unfortunately, they're not a transferable event.
Yeah, I can't even right now.
Yeah. By the way, every one of these stars that's on screen is RNG. The positioning of them is RNG, and the GRN ticks over every frame during this cutscene. So the way in which they hit these bubbles of yours will differ depending on how quickly you clear the text boxes. Regardless, the cutscene takes the same amount of time, so it's not a big deal, but it's just a curious fact.
You can actually get an early text box.
Can you?
Yeah. Sometimes the text pops up earlier. I mean, I'm talking like not even half a second, right? But it noticeably pops up earlier sometimes.
Interesting. I will have a look into that.
I will assume that it's just because of the GRN as well.
Yeah, because in this next time when he tries to attack you with the stars, it takes some time before the stars start connecting with the bubbles, and it might be a timer based on when the stars connect with the bubbles. And hello,
the only reason
Wyvern.
I noticed it is because of the music. Because there's a specific note where he usually starts talking afterwards, and sometimes he starts a bit earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, so see how the stars are kind of creeping across the screen? Like, it's probably related to that, and when they connect to the bubbles. Soulblade early is in TLA, yeah. Not in this game, though.
Yeah, you got the late text box.
Oh, well.
I just listened to the music and I saw the text box. I was like, that's the late text.
The Soulblade is hard-coded into this game, but there is no legitimate way to access it as far as we know. Saying yes then no in this next series of dialogue boxes saves 23 frames. Shoutouts to random time saves. It's one of the few instances where saying no is faster. So now, we get the cutscene in Colima Forest, because the cutscene in Colima includes a bunch of unnecessary dialogue remarking about how people have been turned into trees. So getting the cutscene in Colima Forest saves about 30 seconds over coming to Colima. It's actually massive how much of a time save it is. There are supposed to be encounters in this underground passageway, but they don't meet the avoid threshold, so we don't care about them. So I'm going to soft reset after getting granite here, and soft reset will preserve my BRN, which means that attacks first I worked so hard for, I'm going to retain. So mad people like FX will try to manipulate that room in Colima. The RNG changes every frame in Colima, so you can technically leave consistently. But it's not worth it in this category because the room after the one I'm in right now is also a room where the RNG changes every frame, and we can't do anything about that. Yes, you did see corrupted data.
It's actually this room that I manipulate.
Yeah, but you manipulate it from, like, you manipulate
all the
when
way
you
from
get the
Saturos,
encounter.
all the way from Saturos,
No.
Whenever I'm in.
You manipulate when you get the encounter. You can't manipulate after that, though, correct?
Yeah, I decide based on the encounter what the manipulation is going to look like.
Oh, that's right. You do bad strategies. That's right.
It's because I get I will always have the same like route towards Colima Forest, and then I get like 5 different possibilities in that second room in Colima Forest. and from there everything is the same.
So on our way to Trit, usually like a average run will get 3 encounters on the way to Trit. 1 in the RNG room, 1 afterwards, and 1 just before Trit. A good run will get 2, and a bad run will get more. No, my internet cannot handle a higher bitrate. I'm recording locally at a higher bitrate, so the YouTube VOD afterwards will be of a higher quality. But welcome to Australia, where the internet is garbage, and the rules are rigged against you. Just download better internet. Yeah, I wish. So, 2 encounters, good Colima Forest. So, in Trit, we usually get 1 encounter before we have to do a retreat warp, and we want to get that encounter outside. If we get it inside, that usually means bad things for us. And of course, we get the encounter inside. Ideally, you want to take damage on an encounter, but oh well, you can't always get that. What this is going to mean is that now there is a chance that I get an encounter immediately before Zephyr. Breeze, sorry, I get them mixed up all the time. And if I get an encounter before Breeze, that costs time. Yeah, my internet's really bad. I get 1.5 up maximum. Realistically, it's more like 0.5 up. It's super trash.
I always just like run around for another encounter on the branch if I get one inside.
That's slower than
Just to
just
be safe.
that's slower. So we do a retreat warp, get out of bounds. That one actually doesn't save that much time, but because we have to do another retreat warp immediately after Breeze, setting it up there and getting a time save actually makes it worth it. So we got an encounter right before Breeze, which sucks. Literally pixels away from it, but that's okay. My PB also had that happen to it, so that means there's about probably like 10 seconds of time save on this split. That's really achievable just from that and the bad encounter RNG leading up to it, like not getting attacked by anybody and things like that. Anyway, you can see now that my PP is set up again to do another retreat warp. This one we definitely need to do a hard reset for. The reason is that it's gonna make us be able to do some out of bounds exploring that we wouldn't be able to do if we had a soft reset. One of the things a hard reset clears that a soft reset doesn't is the sprite data, and if the sprite data can be interpreted as tiles, and if the tiles say you can't go here, then you can't move in that direction. A soft reset doesn't clear this information, so it creates barriers and makes things nasty. So this next menu I need to do as fast as I humanly can. And the reason being is that I want to make sure Mia outspeeds Ivan in the next fight. So this Tret fight is different to the one that Werster used. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to delay the summons as best as I possibly can, and that means I need to front load on damage. So what I'm going to do is I want Mia to attack first, that way Gust gets a double proc, deals a ton of damage to Tret, and then Ivan can summon Atlanta. However, if Mia goes after Ivan, then that obviously can't work. So there are some seeds where that happens, and if you recall a while ago, the Mint, we generated a +5 instead of a +6 on Ivan. That's why. By having the extra tick of our agility on Ivan makes him always outspeed Mia. When he is one less, he will never 80% of the time not outspeed Mia. So that's kind of cool. Otherwise, this fight is pretty straightforward. We just have to pay attention to what Tret is doing. So similar to how Saturos we were controlling the BRN afterwards, we're looking at what Tret's doing with us. He used Quake on 3 people. That means if I attack with Mia, by the time I get to Zephyr, I will have attacks first. If he did Quake with 2 people, then I could attack with Ivan, and then by the time I get to Zephyr, I'll have attacks first. So this is some more of this BRM manipulation and soft reset stuff that just saves time all over the place in really convenient ways. So yeah, get dunked on your right. The mint saves the run. The mint only getting 5 agility there gives us enough agility to outspeed Saturos, but not enough agility so that Ivan outspeeds Mir in this fight. That's really cool. So yeah, what's going to happen is we retreat out of here, we do the cutscene, we're going to soft reset after the cutscene, we're going to go to Colima via Sanctum Warp, and then we're going to get 2 encounters on the way to Fusion Temple, and those 2 encounters will generate 5 extra BRN, and that'll be enough to get us into Zephyr with attacks first. How do you people figure these things out? This run is 6 years in the making. If you spent 6 years trying to work out how to make the game go fast, you find a lot of things. One of those things is that I wrote what I've called the Golden Sun utility script, and that has a bunch of really, really nifty, useful tools in it. One of them is an attacks first calculator. How many BRNs do you need to generate to the next 3 attacks firsts? And that's been super useful. A lot of this BRN manipulation has really come into its own in the past 2 years or so. The only thing you need to remember about this soft reset, by the way, is that if you just run right after the soft reset Sanctum Warp, you'll run into the old lady and that will kill the manipulation. You just have to hold upright after you Sanctum Warp and then you dodge the lady.
Yeah, by holding upright.
Yep. So not too bad, like we're ahead of PB, we're ahead of gold. Not too shabby. Now I expect to gain a lot of time on this split because there were some pretty big mistakes in my PB in it. Anyway, we'll get this first encounter here, 2 attack cancel, get rid of him. Next encounter, 1 attack cancel, will be the triple Mauler fight.
Oh, right, because you have a higher average level, you get a slightly lower step count.
Yep.
So you get the encounter in the forest rather than outside.
Yep.
That's why it's that meatless, yeah.
You could use a void here, but nah, it's not as good. If you've seen my 358, then yes, the treachery was bad as well. Just use mind read on this guy. So there is a really small chance to get an encounter immediately prior to the Dark Room in Fusion Falls Cave. We have attacks first, so even if we got an encounter, it's not the end of the world. They can't kill us. It just sucks for Zephyr. But that chance exists. Since we've started doing this attacks first manipulation strat, I don't think I've ever had the encounter happen, so I don't know. I know it's
a pretty
possible,
low
though.
chance.
It used to be much more common, so I don't know what's changed between now and then.
Like, you're much more likely to not get an encounter than get one.
So one of the things from Tret, we hit a spike tile out of bounds, which is just junk data being interpreted as a spike. That generated a tick of damage on everybody, and that allowed us to cure everybody there, so that's really useful. It's one of the reasons why the hard reset Tret strat still is a thing, because with the soft reset strats, you never get that spike, and you can't cure as efficiently here. Now, I believe in Werster's run, he uses all summons against this guy, and that does exactly enough damage, except when it doesn't. There is a chance that the BRN is something different, and you generate 1 less damage. So we looked into that, and we came up with this strategy where you use Fever with Isaac, and Ramses with Ivan, and that always guarantees the kill. So that's an interesting little optimization there. It's also slightly faster if I remember correctly. So this Mogul Forest Retreat Warp wasn't in Werster's PB. This was found by a guy called Pavocado. He just like randomly messaged me one day on the SDA forums about it. He found this in the Hydros skip. Just go over here and do some funky retreat warps. It's super standard these days, but we do that. Hard reset here because the RNG thing, the possibility of getting an encounter beforehand. It also is really convenient because all the fights line up perfectly. So there's a pretty strong disincentive to change away from that. But it's something we can look at to improve. Now in these rooms here, very recently I found that it doesn't matter what encounter you get, doing 2 attack cancels, then 0 attack cancels on the next fight is always going to work. Whether you get that encounter in the room that I got it in or the one before it. We used to have different strats depending on where you got the encounter, but it turns out 2 AC, 0 AC is just better, because it also accounts for a kind of worst case scenario in the second room. Here I'm going to use move immediately before quartz. And that's going to guarantee... That's going to move me to a particular random number. Should use move before setting gem, but whatever. There's a lot of things to say here. So the first thing is, by using move, it prevents quartz from running. Second thing to say is that I recently discovered that attacking with Isaac and Mia and summoning with Garrett and Ivan kills, whereas before we used Kieran, Nereid, and Atlanta to kill it. Oh, sorry, and Prochna to kill it. Now the issue with Kieran and Nereid being used at the same time is that with move, it caused instability in that sometimes the GRN would just be different for no discernible reason and you'd get screwed over. But because I got rid of Nereid, I could use move and it's always going to be consistent, which is kind of nice. So old strats we used to use growth instead of move to get that same kind of outcome, but no longer needed. Anyway, all these encounters have happened. So 2 things are happening in this room here. Every time I'm casting move, the GRN is not in my control. I don't know what those little sparkles are generating. They generate in increments of 3, so either 0, 3, or 6 GRNs. I cleared that text box on the item as well instantly. Again, not in control of the GRN. But I've manipulated for attacks first, so it doesn't matter what encounter I get there, I'll always be able to flee from it. Soft reset because I know what the BRN is, and voila, I'm back in control of both GRN and BRN because I was able to make really good use of that attacks first. Super interesting stuff. Complicated, but, you know, whatever. Next encounter 3 AC, just to make sure that we can get to killer rate without another encounter. It's possible to get to him with less attack cancels, but it's like super tight. So just do the 3 AC for the sake of it, for the sake of safety. So many things going on here. So the killer rate fight is also slightly different, because depending on how you've set this fight up, be that a hard reset or soft reset, or whatever the BRN GRN is coming into this fight, you're going to get a different fight. So there have been so many different killer rate fights over the years. So this one's particularly, well, it's a thing. It's not remarkable in any way. We used to get stuns on him. Not nearly as interesting as that. So unfortunately, the killer rate's going to cast Bind on Ivan, which makes Ivan, well, pretty much useless in the rest of this fight. So to compensate, we actually have to use the evil earth dinosaur known as Cybele in this fight. Now Cybele's a bit of a jerk. He can be a little bit inconsistent with how much he advances the GRN. So there's a chance that the killer ape won't do what I want him to do. And it's a really long animation. It takes like 6.8 seconds or something to get through a Cybele animation. It's gross. What I want to see here is the killer ape using Bind on Isaac on this last turn. But I've accounted for the fact that the killer ape could use Bind on Mia. I'll remark about Bind on Mirror in a moment, but we got the right RNG. Cybele-based Cybele came through for us, and that's fantastic. Alright, coming into Xi'an, and this is a huge time save. Yay, huge time save. But only marginally ahead of goal, so that's not a big deal. Since we're not getting the ninja hood anymore, don't need to get the lucky medal here, and I can run against the wall here and do some setup. If I can menu correctly. Okay. Notice how the girl is still walking towards us despite this menu going on? That means this menu actually doesn't cost us any time if we do it optimally, because the girl we have to wait for the girl anyway. I stand against the wall so that the girl, usually she pushes you away when she drops the water, but if you're against the wall, you don't get pushed. So all of that saves time there. Okay. Bind on Mia. Let's talk about Bind on Mia. Almost every summon in the game is inconsistent. It advances an inconsistent amount of frames when you cancel their summon animation. There are a handful of summons that are good, things like Ramses, Procna, Thor, Atlanta. Those are all good ones. But all of the other ones can be misbehaved at times, depending on what the original seed RNG is. Now, Judgment is an interesting summon because Judgment is consistent about 80% of the time. On most seeds, it will be consistent, but there are some seeds where it won't be consistent. We'll never see an inconsistent seed in this run, but that's a thing. So, Cybele with the GRN that was set up as is, most of the time gives you the Isaac result, but sometimes will give you the Mia result. And that's just because the way that the GRN works out, that frame, or the GRN that it happens to be on, is mostly consistent, and is consistent enough for us to do runs on. We'll see this later. We're going to use Tiamat later on, but I'm going to talk about a glitch in a moment. I'm going to use Tiamat later on. That's only going to give us one result after the Tiamat use, despite the fact that in general Tiamat is not consistent, and that's because it's on a good GRN frame. Okay. Glitch coming up. Let's talk about the glitch. This glitch coming up is called Infinite Climb Glitch. It's a frame perfect trick. This game runs at 60 frames per second. What I need to do is I need to get onto a ladder, and on the 12th frame climbing up onto a ladder. No, on the 13th frame, sorry, climbing up onto a ladder, I need to hit the start menu. What this will do is that it will open up the start menu while I'm on the ladder, can save the game, reset the game, and that's going to change Isaac's Z coordinate to be a little bit higher than it normally would be able to. I can then run and talk to the living statue, skipping the second part of his jumping around stuff, because as you can see, the living statue takes forever. He hops around way too slow. But this trick is frame perfect. Getting it first try saves about 10 seconds, and then cancelling it like that will make you hate your life.
Oh man.
Yeah, but that probably lost me about 2 seconds instead of like saving me like 8 seconds or something. Anyway, whatever, you take that. Anyway, that's really nice. Allows us to talk to the living statue from below ground, and that's cool. We're going to use Infinite Climb Glitch once more later on in Ultim, and then never again for the rest of the run. But now I get to talk about BRN manipulation. Woohoo! So on Killer Ape, back to Killer Ape. On the final turn, I attacked with Ivan. That attack was to set up the BRN for this particular point of the game. The attack was not necessary to kill the Killer Ape. What I want to do is that the rooms which contain living statues advance the GRN every frame. So if I have attacks first in that room, then I can run away regardless of what the encounter is. So I've set things up so that when I get there, I'm going to have attacks first. But I'm going to do more than that. I'm also manipulating the rate in which I get the encounter. Now, when you enter these RNG hell rooms, or that we call them, or the rooms that generate RNG every frame, there are 4 possibilities of encounter rate that you can get depending on how fast the game gives you control of Isaac, which depends on the frame counter which you turned on the console, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to use growth here, then 3 attack cancel in the next fight. That's going to put me into a range of range of encounter step options that are all good. In fact, one of them is so good you don't get any encounters at all to the living statue, which is really cool. So the growth and the 3 attack cancel were not necessary there. I could do other things, but the way in which I've gone about this ensures that I'm only going to get 1 encounter to the living statue, possibly 0. And if I get an encounter to the living statue, which I did, I get attacks first and I can just run from it. I'm going to use this principle in the next room as well, where the living statue is like 1,000 times worse. Like many times worse. So this next strat's pretty much all due to Fretzy. Shoutouts to Fretzy. What we're going to do here is we're going to Sanctum Warp after this, after a hard reset, so we get back in control of Berian Jiren. Get a particular series of fights, and in particular, do a fight really badly so that we manipulate the next encounters after that to give us 2 attacks first in a row. And hopefully, that will be enough for us to get to the living statue. And if not, well, at least we had 2 attacks first. So this strat's all Fretzy, so shoutouts to Fretzy. I guess the one thing I can say that I've added to this strategy is that basically just backup strategies. Like if you go too fast getting into the dungeon here, I'm going to do a little bit of suboptimal movement to manipulate the encounter that I get. If I do it too fast, I get 2 slimes, and if you get 2 slimes, you can fix the strategy by doing 6 attack cancels instead of the 0 attack cancels I do on the spider that I get. Minor thing. This run is actually riddled full of backup strategies now because I'm insane. In fact, at every possible point of failure, there are backup strategies, and that gives me such a reassuring thing about doing runs of this. It's really cool. Get the switch here. Take the cart ride. Next encounter is 2 rats. When I see the 2 rats, no big deal. Then the encounter after that is the double Colima, which is going to be triple Colima, sorry. That's going to be very interesting. It is possible for you to miss using frost on the frost puddle, and it's like the worst feeling in the world because it just randomly fails for no reason. And I don't have a backup strat for it. This is the one place where I don't have a backup strat, actually. You just gotta hope and pray that frost connects. There are many times where you really just want frost to connect and it can fail you. Yay, it connected. Doesn't seem like much, but hitboxes in this game are a bit weird. So the Colima fight, really interesting. Oh, it is double Colima. So I'm doing a bunch of attacks with Garrett and Mia, again found by Fretzy, really interesting. And that combination of attacks gets the BRN to a point that the next 2 encounters are going to be attacks first, which is great. The 3 attack cancels there and the move ensure that the first encounter I get is as far away as possible. Again, there are 4 possibilities, but this is as far away as possible. The first possibility is just after this ladder that I'm about to pass. And the best possibility is on top of the ladder on the way to the switch. And hey, look at that. I got the best possible RNG there. So that one's attacks first. The next encounter is going to be attacks first. Anything after that can kill me and can kill the run. Runs go to die in this room. Like, this is the scariest point of the whole run because, like, you can just get screwed over. So one thing I do there is I take a step before healing. The reason I do that is that fixes the encounter rate, and if I get an encounter to the living statue, I can be like, okay, the heal wasn't necessary. But if I don't get there in time, then I'm glad I did the heal. Just a little thing, mental thing I do to myself. Yeah, look at that, only 2 encounters, perfect. Whew. Lots of complicated stuff going on. All of this BRM manipulation, by the way, is just totally absent from Werster's run. Like, this is like some 2018 tech that we came up with, like, very recently. This stuff's like less than 4 months old. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing again. We're going to drain Isaac's PP, hard reset, and try set up a double attacks first for after getting the lift gem. But we have to worry about a lot of other things as well. We have to kill spritz in a really efficient way. We have to get to the end of the dungeon in the minimal amount of encounters, while getting double attacks first in the final room. Super complicated, but amazingly I found this strategy that actually works. And this is where Tiamat's going to come in. So we're going to run down these ladders, and we're going to stop on a patch of dirt, we're going to wait for the old man to move down. So wait for a second, moves down, go in. Like just a split second. That split second is going to make the next encounter a rat. Guaranteed rat. Flee from the rat, don't care about him. And because we drained our PP prior to entering here, Isaac now has exactly 5 PP, double retreat warp, no big deal. We're going to get an encounter immediately below this ladder. 3 Colima. Same kind of deal. We're going to do the fight suboptimally. We're going to flee, it's going to fail. Then we're going to double attack cancel, then we're going to flee. We're just changing the BRN to advance it along a little bit. Another frame perfect trick here. Much better than the first try. This trick saves a lot of time. This trick was not known when Werster did his runs. Werster had to use move and frost and it was really gross. We're really lucky to have this strat. It saves a lot of time in this room in particular. Do a bunch of things there, including remove the Elven shirt from Ivan. So this fight here, I'm going to use Progna Tiamat attack. And while Tiamat is usually a bad summon, in this fight, on this particular GRN seed, Tiamat is very well behaved. These attacks by Ivan and Mia are not needed to kill spirits, but they, again, are advancing the BRN. What this has done is it's given me attacks first on the next encounter. It's not really important, but it means that if the strategy does happen to fail, I have a backup, basically. Next fight's going to be a rat and an ape. I'm going to use 1 attack cancel on it. Then I'm going to get another encounter, 2 attack cancel, save the game to generate 2 more RNG before moving. And that's going to be all the encounters I'm going to get before my next double attack cancel. Double attacks first. Crazy shit going on. So flee. Then the next encounter has 2 skeletons, 2 spiders. That generates the perfect amount of BRN to get to the double attacks first seed. Unfortunately, I can't do 4 attack cancels on it. The commentary is live, Joko. The run is not live. Ideally, I'd do 4 attack cancels there, which would get me to the same GRN, but you can't flee. You can do 2 attack cancels, then save the game, and that'll get you to the point where you need to go. And that's going to make sure I don't get any more encounters here. And wow, super technical stuff, and that's basically what we have to worry about. This stuff here, no encounters here, but it's going to generate random ticks of RNG here as well, which kind of suck. This next skip that we're going to do in Hydros' statue, again, found by Pavocado. Basically just go into retreat mode, climb up the ladder, and then we can get lift. This is one of the big time saves between this and Werster's run. Like, it's a minute 50 raw time save because you don't have to do the fight. You don't get that total time save because there are other things that happen later on that are slower as a result. But, you know, it's pretty good. You can't complain about that. Fun fact, if this ladder going into Hydros' room, if you just go down right as you're on the ladder, you actually just miss the loading zone completely and can run around in a little box. It's kind of funny. No glitch necessary. Jump down. I've manipulated things just right so that Isaac's PP is in a point where 1 cure well will put me into retreat range, and then you can just walk to lift. There's no discernible reason why this is a thing, but it's a thing. It's the only room in the whole game that has this property, and it just so happens that it allows you to get the lift gem from behind Hydros. Like, it's insane that this is the only place that it happens to work. It doesn't work anywhere else. Like, every other ladder in the game has a little box that you can run around in, and that's it. And that mistake there is quite annoying. You can do fast climb in Hydros room anyway, yeah, you're right, but frame perfect trick versus retreat warp, yeah, you try the trick, and if it fails, you just do the retreat warp. So attacks first because I've manipulated for it, then another attacks first, and voila, we're done. Whew. That was a mission. Okay, Alton's done. Now we're getting into Lamakan Desert. Now Baal has been running this game for a very long time, and he can tell you just how painful Lamakan Desert is. Would you like to say anything about Lamakan Desert, Baal? He's not around.
I think Baal is AFK, but I'm here.
Alright,
And I
Baal.
actually like Lamacon a lot. I actually like it a lot.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
because-
know.
I'm here again.
No, because you've only ever been exposed to new Lamacon. Like, Baal has been around since the days of shitty Lamacon.
Oh yeah, previous Lamacon was like really bullshit. I mean, in any percent, it was way worse than all Djinn, because in all Djinn, at least you could just like run through it and heal most of the time, but then you get like ambushed by a salamander and he fucking wrecks you.
So the reason why Lamacon Desert sucks is that every dust cloud you kick up generates random numbers. However, the rate at which you kick up dust clouds doesn't appear to follow any discernible rule or pattern. Especially as you go around corners or hug edges, you may or may not kick up a dust cloud, and it's just chaos. So for a long time, we just kind of go in there and hope for the best. Which wasn't a very good strategy, but you know, Werster mapped out some of it, but it was done pretty badly, and I'm amazed that he got it as consistent as he did, because he should not have been able to get it as consistent as he did. But, you know, we were crazy back then, and we were doing crazy things because we didn't know any better. So, how did we get around this problem? I realized something. I realized that you could do attack cancels to correct your GRN. So on every encounter, there is one particular GRN number which is like a universal run. It doesn't matter what the encounter is or what level it is, the game will let you run. Okay. Next, so if every encounter we get, I'm going to do attack cancels to get to that universal run number. Between that, I'm going to do some casting of move and things like that to kind of delay the encounters as best I can. But I'm going to use this technique to correct my GRN regardless of what I get. So let's take the second encounter. I could get 2 Orc, 2B. That's 5 attack cancels. I could get 2 Bs. If I do 3 attack cancels, I get to the same GRN that I would get from the 2 Orc, 2B after doing 5 attack cancels. And I do that for all 4 of these encounters. And by doing that, it allows you to get through Lamacon Desert, like, without a problem. Getting through Lamacon Desert quickly is another matter. You basically need to memorize every encounter that you get to go fast. Now, I have all of the important ones memorized. I don't have some of the freaky ones memorized. Like, if you get Grub Salamander as your first encounter, as opposed to Salamander Grub, then you're in for a world of hurt. You have to do like 5 attack cancels, a Frost move or some garbage like that to get back on track. It's really gross. Anyway, let's see this in action. I fixed up the lift gem there. Lift gem's supposed to be on Isaac, but I had to put it on Garrett because I used move because I'm bad. Shoutouts to dumb mistakes. So I do this little diagonal movement here, which Werster should have done, but didn't. That little diagonal movement just delays the first encounter quite a lot. Oh, of course, we're never going to heal, by the way. The damage doesn't matter. First encounter, Salamander Grub, we're good. We use move, that's going to delay the next encounter quite a distance. Grub Salamander means you went too fast, and that's bad. Too optimal. Next encounter. Right here, 3 Bs, 2 Bs, 3 attack cancels. Move, then I'm going to do some weird movement on the non-sanded area, just to generate some encounter steps so that I get an encounter before I leave this room. 2 Orc. I don't know 2 Orc. I had to look this one up. It's 7, apparently. Usually I get like 2 Salamander or Salamander Grub, which is 6 and 3 AC respectively. Do some movement here, we get to Smog. Cast Whirlwind because you're an idiot. Fortunately, Whirlwind doesn't change the GRN at all, so it has no penalty for using that. So use Reveal, get out Djinn. One last encounter, and this one's a little bit wild. That's a good one. I know what that one is. 4 AC, we're all good. Use Frost to make our step counter a little bit slower. Now we're going to do a retreat warp. So Werster used this retreat warp, so it's no big deal. But it allows us to get out of bounds in the first room, and it just so happens that the Manticore lives at 0-0 on every map in Lamakan Desert. Again, for no reason that we know. Like, we cannot work out why they did that, but hey, whatever, we'll take it. So this Manticore strat's different to what Werster used, obviously. We're going to take advantage of Weaken. Weaken lowers the target's resist, and it makes summons more powerful. We're also going to put the Manticore to sleep, so he doesn't do things, because when he does things, it's slow. So Weaken, and Mist. So the 2 Weakens will proc, lowering his defense by resistance by 80, basically making us do maximum possible damage. And then Mist is also going to proc and give us a sleep. And he's just going to fall asleep and not be a threat to us. Now it's just a matter of keeping the Weaken up. So by using Weaken with Garrett, it retains the Weakened property for the next turn. There's no other way to guarantee that. And using Sleet here gives us attacks first on Vine, which comes up after this. And also avoids getting caught by surprise, because if we use the synergy, we'd be caught by surprise. Anyway, we're going to not watch the summon animations here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the level ups in this fight, and whatever the level ups are, I can work out what RNG I'm on. There's 4 possibilities, I just need to know which one I'm on. And this one, I'm pretty sure it's the Ivan one. Yeah, it's the Ivan one. You can see there that Ivan got 4 the last 3 levels were 4-1-4, which means he got 4 attack, 1 defense, 4 agility. And seeing that he got 1 defense lets me know I'm on like the Ivan seed, and I can do a particular strategy for that, which involves using Mind Read in the overworld. Not Reveal, because that does nothing, but Mind Read will do something. That gives me Vine. And attacks first because I use Sleet on the Manticore. Sleet generates 3 BRN on the Manticore, because the Manticore is weak to Mercury, which generates an extra BRN when you use the weakness. Anyway, you do that there. Thor on Isaac is strictly speaking slower than doing attack, defend, Thor, defend. But the way it works out is that this gives us good GRN, so that it allows us to get to Calais, without an encounter. So that's kind of nice. Whew. And that's the first bit of the craziness. I am going to pick up a sleep bomb here. The sleep bomb is new, believe it or not. We'll return to the topic of the sleep bomb in a moment. A pre-recorded commentary but live run. That'd be pretty fun, actually. I'm playing so close to my expected performance that I might actually be able to do a pre-recorded commentary thing. Be kind of funny. Anyway, we pick up Scorch, no big deal. Thanks, Aquasock, much appreciated. Trying to be as informative as possible. This is a truly monumentous day for Golden Sun. We have 2.5 minutes of the worst cutscene in the game, which adds literally nothing to the plot or anything useful at all. Great time for questions if we have them. This whole next segment is boring, by the way. Basically, we have to do the boat. The way we do the boat fast is we blow things up with summons, because Ivan with the Elven shirt outspeeds everything. So you just blow them up with the right summon. Nothing interesting at all. How did I find the new fast climb glitch? I was doing practice. I have done a lot of practice lately. For those of you who don't know what fast climb is, don't worry. There is a fast climb in this run. And yeah, it was totally by accident. What happened was, I was just practicing the third Alton segment, so the one with spritz. Just, getting up to speed with it, making sure I can get the lift thing. I'm sitting there, and then I don't know what I did, but I pressed like down, select up, and something, and then I saw Isaac climb to the top, and I was like, what the fuck? And started freaking out. And my wife was just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why are you freaking out? Like, I was just like flabbergasted. I had no idea what had happened at this point. So then I went away and practiced on console for a while. I didn't get anywhere, obviously. Then I turned on the old emulator and was like, you know what? I think a pretty likely thing that's happened here is I'm pretty sure it's similar to the infinite climb glitch. Plugged it in. It didn't work. Because infinite climb glitch requires you to do the input on the 13th frame. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. Then I was like, hold on, maybe it's another frame. Maybe it's a different frame. And yeah, sure enough, it's a different frame. You have to input the up or down command on the 14th frame. And that is the story of how fast climb was found. So yeah, nothing interesting about the boat, other than going fast is kind of a thing. First thing to say, I mean, this is all stuff that, like, is in Werster's run, so not super interesting, but first thing is, you can trigger this conversation from the top. The second thing to say is that if you talk to the travelers in the room above you, then you don't need to get the cutscene with the guy running out and hiding the anchor. That's pretty much it. The screen is going to pan down here. You'll actually gain control of Isaac as the screen is panning back towards Isaac. So if you hold up, then tap up right for a second, you can actually get into the door almost by the time the cutscene focuses on you. Apologies for the stuttery video. That's like A, my computer, and B, OBS artifacts probably. One of the reasons why this timer is hard-coded into the video. And for those of you asking about fast climb, the mast coming up here is one instance where fast climb would be useful. You could just fast climb off the mast.
I think the stream just died again.
Looks fine by me. I don't see any dropped frames.
Let's see. It froze for me, so I'm just gonna... It's still playing now, so that seems good.
So you can get this anchor and just like fast climb off. I tried once there, and then I gave up. What's really interesting there about the fast climb glitch is that if you fast climb off the ladder, or fast fall I guess, and hold down, then you'll actually miss the loading zone and can explore the outer bounds around the mast. And I got really optimistic there for a while that we'd be able to find a boat skip. Like, find the cutscene trigger for the final segment to Tolby, and I was like completely ecstatic that it was a thing. But then there was just nothing out of bounds at all. Like, not even a loading zone out of bounds. It was really disappointing. There's only one remarkable thing about the out of bounds of the master room, and that is if you hard reset in that room, it has the least sprite data of any room I've ever seen. So, if there is ever a time where we need to do Ace, or something like that, where we need to manipulate the memory by walking on it, then the master room would be an excellent candidate for that, because you can pretty much just walk straight to the memory containing your stats and stuff. So, interesting, but not useful because we can't manipulate that yet. Ace is arbitrary code execution, kind of like the holy grail of glitch speedruns. Think like Symphony of the Night kind of stuff. Symphony of the Night any percent, where you do this weird shit to your inventory to run arbitrary code to complete the game. Need to give that sleep bomb to Ivan, actually. So, shoutouts to bad menuing. Like, the execution in this run actually sucks. Like, the only reason it's ahead of my PB is because my PB had issues around trait and kill rate. Oh yeah, Pokemon Yellow is another good Ace game. The fact that my execution is so sloppy gives me hope that I could actually beat this run realistically soonish, so that's kind of interesting. if I go for it, which I'm not currently going for, but I may go for it after the next project. You might be concerned that I haven't healed. Well, the first thing to say is that Ivan's going to outspeed everything anyway, so don't worry about it. Second thing to say is, well, let's worry about healing when we get to Kraken. There's really nothing you could do to speed this up, but you get really familiar with the way these various boat rides go. So the first one, there's a lot of text, so you have to mash through that one. The second one, after you start sailing, there's only one text box before you get into the cabin below, and that text box happens as soon as the guy jumps up and down. And then the third one, there's actually no outside text boxes, so you don't have to mash it all. When I discovered that, well, I guess discovery is like a bit generous. Like when I observed that that was a thing, my hands were very happy because it meant you could just sit back and relax for like 30 seconds. Hello, the type. Happy to answer anything. This is like the best split for answering questions as well. "100% and all Djinn are the same." Let's just say 100% no longer exists. It's all Djinn, and all Djinn is the only thing that we'll ever consider in the future. The reason being, no one can agree on what 100% actually means for this game. So for instance, there are 6 unlockable events in Golden Sun that get transferred over to the Lost Age. Plausibly, those should be included in whatever 100% is. But, you know, no, we haven't really... Yeah, we like all Djinn. All Djinn is a great category. It does all the things you want it to do. So, yeah. So, as I said, we're just going to blast them with summons. No big deal. So yeah, all Djinn is our 100% do everything category, but there may be some meme runs in the future that do the 100% stuff. The 6 events, Aquasoc? Yeah, we need to update that properly. 6 events. Saves you, the guy in Alton Crossing. Second one, depending on the order in which you do things, saying no there costs a lot of time. Do not say no there, my controller slipped. Next one chronologically is let the bandits free from the Vault prison by talking to the Vault Mayor after visiting Calais. The third one is talk to Dora in Vale. That one people don't really know about. Shoutouts, I think it was Anyway who reminded me about that one. Yeah, Anyway's just posted in chat. Save Hammett is the next one. Beat Colosso is the next one, then save Hammett, then defeat Deadbeard. Thanks, Maestro. I wish Golden Sun would get into a marathon like GDQ. I think GDQ could be amazing to raise awareness of Golden Sun and get a 4th game, maybe. So this is the second boat ride, so the guy will jump up and down, and then you'll get a text box. Just one. Then they'll just like bash on these guys for a while. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, Frost. I might try to submit this for SGDQ or something. Something less prestigious. So yeah, so if you're gonna miss one, it's gonna be not talking to Dora. And if you don't talk to Dora, it just changes like a little bit of the dialogue at the end of TLA. It's super minor. Like you didn't miss anything if you didn't talk to her. It's just a comment about how the last time you saw Dora, she was really sick. And if you didn't talk to her, then it says, I'm sure she's fine. No comment about her illness or whatever. Super minor. So this next fight that we're going to have is the only scary fight of the 3 pre-Kraken fights. It's scary because in any percent, the commands are get to summon, use the top summon, which is Judgment. In this category, we have Spritz, which makes the top summon Boreas. Boreas does not kill the next encounter. So we just have to be really careful to press down before selecting which summon we're using. Now, having done all Djinn pretty much exclusively for the last half a year, I have no concern about hitting Judgment, but after you come from any percent and go into all Djinn, it's a nightmare. I have lost runs to casting Boreas accidentally. As I mentioned, no text here, you just have to put the controller down, take a break. Yeah, like, to go fast you need to have muscle memory, and if that muscle memory betrays you, then that's not a good thing. Anyway, we use Judgment on these guys, blow them up, who cares. So now we come to Kraken. And I said that we would heal on Kraken because, you know, we're not in danger by these guys because Elven shirt. But I'm also not going to heal on Kraken. It's just, I actually want to keep damage on people. I need to set up a retreat warp in like 30 minutes or something, and it'd be advantageous to keep damage on people. So if I can avoid healing people, I'm going to avoid healing them. And the Kraken, well, he's not going to have a very fun time. Need to generate, recover 2 sets of Djinn here. And yep, all you need to set is Smog. I know the strat that we used to do here, and maybe even Werster strat, that was a 3-turn Kraken fight, which involved putting him to sleep or stunning him using Scorch actually. None of that stuff anymore. So, in particular, I'll give a shout out to Zedanigi for this. He was the one who really made us look into Weaken as a thing in TLA, and that bled over into this category. And Weaken is just an amazing ability that's just so underrated in casual play, because you can never actually get it off. But in this category where you can guarantee get off Weaken, it speeds things up so much. So you already saw the Manticore, how we killed it really quickly using Weaken. We're going to do the same thing to Kraken. We're going to weaken the Kraken, then blow him up with summons. Yeah, like seriously, no amount of shoutouts can be given more. Like, Zeto's amazing. I love Zeto to bits. Like, blew our minds when we realized Weaken was amazing. So the only issue was I need to put the Kraken to sleep. And we're going to do that with that sleep bomb we picked up in Calais. Just so happens that after a hard reset and blowing those things up with summons, you're right near a sleep seed. So we're going to do that. So poop, sleep bomb, he's asleep. Weaken to drop its resistance. That's going to make Boreas in particular really, really, really strong. The Kraken only has about like 30 Mars resist, so he's basically taking pure Mars damage, like no resistance at all, so it does pretty absurd damage as well. And it doesn't matter that the Kraken's woken up here, because the Kraken still cannot act until the next turn, so yeah, we just blow him up with summons and abilities. And all because we can use that sleep bomb first, and then that weaken second, just allows us to load damage into Kraken and kill it in 2 turns, where the standard before was kill it in 3 turns. It's pretty incredible. So I'm running around here to generate Djinn recovery. I need to recover 2 Djinn so that Garrett will have a Venus Djinn recovered on him, and that's going to allow me to cast Growth when I get into Tolby, and that's going to allow me to get Ember. So that's why I was doing that silly movement there. It just so happens that those 2 places are the best places to recover those Djinn. So Tolby isn't too interesting. bunch of cutscenes. We're going to get to the fountain. The fountain's probably the most interesting thing. If you recall, a long time ago, back in Imil, we picked up a lucky medal. And we're going to use that lucky medal to get ourselves an assassin blade, and that's going to make the game really fun. This tech was implemented in Werster's run. It was like the hottest new tech when Werster was doing his run was the assassin blade stuff. The assassin blade has a special ability on its unleash that can instantly kill whatever it's attacking. The success rate is determined by your Venus level, which is different from your Venus power. Venus level is 5 if you are an adept of that element and 0 otherwise, and then 1 additional Venus level for every Djinn that is set on you of that elemental type. The Assassin Blade is Venus aligned, so we try to max out Isaac's Venus level by stacking him with Venus Djinn and obviously being a Venus adept, and that's going to maximize our chance of getting the instant kill off from the Assassin Blade. And we're going to try and use the Assassin Blade to kill as many things as we possibly can. And we'll see what those things are like. What difference does it make when you wiggle around to recover Djinn? Some rooms have faster recovery rate than others. Those 2 rooms where I wiggled in particular just so happen to be the fastest way to do that. Basically, you have to move to the door anyway. That gets you to like 7 Djinn recovery out of 16, so you wiggle around to make up the difference. Then in the next room you get to about 7 again, wiggle around to make up the difference. That's why. Anyway, it's correct. The elemental level stuff is what determines what the class system happens to be. It's how the game realizes, oh, you're a Venus adept with this combination, that's why you're this class. It's really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to do something, and it's going to look suboptimal. I'm going to throw the coin, but I'm going to wait when I throw the coin. And in Werster's run, or everybody to this point, has just been throwing the medal immediately, because that'll get the medal in. So wait until that crab gets into the invisible ring, then throw it. That's going to make the coin hit the crab, and then roll to this outer ring where I'm going to get the Assassin Blade. If you just threw the coin without hitting the crab, it would roll around for a while before finally settling in the middle and giving you the Assassin Blade. By hitting the crab, it only rolls around twice before settling down. That difference in rolling speed saves a second. And I only found out about that like 4 months ago or something. Alright, first instance of the Assassin Blade, let's do a menu. A bad menu. So as I mentioned, we're stacking Isaac with Venus Djinn. And then we're just going to try and manipulate whatever the BRN is to give us instant kills all over the place. So we had to heal Ivan there, otherwise he dies. But otherwise, we're good. Now this stretch of the game actually isn't very interesting. All we're doing, like every dungeon to this point has had a gimmick which makes the dungeon interesting. Be that Lambakan Dezik's annoying dust clouds, be that Alton's annoying frame perfect trick. There's nothing of that sort in Alt Miller at all. It's just straight go through the game, run from encounters, who cares? Route change here from Werster's run. Werster went straight into Alt Miller Cave without getting ground. The reason being that it's actually faster movement-wise to go Alt Miller, do the whole Barbie thing, get ground, Sanctum Warp back to Tolby. The consequence of that is that Barbie actually messes with the RNG when you talk to him, which means you don't control what encounters you get in the overworld, which means that you can lose time on the way back to ground. So we made a decision a while ago to get ground before, so that on average, and by average by a significant amount actually, getting ground beforehand while being in control of what encounters you get is superior to doing it afterwards and not being in control. It also allows us to do another trick at the end, which we'll get to in a moment. So as I mentioned, just run through these things. No big deal. I have the number of attack cancels in this dungeon burned into my brain. It's 01004. then 7-6, then 4-1-0. As a happy but not really happy side effect of all of this, I also get attacks first onto Squall. Now I'll stress that this wasn't manipulated for. Like, I actually don't want attacks first here. But it just so happens that this is the fastest way of doing it. Like, even like the fact that he doesn't get an action off plus other stuff just makes this the better strategy plus the better encounter pattern. But I would prefer he actually did things so that the subsequent stuff was better, but oh well. This is still optimal as far as I can tell. That Frost has a habit of missing. I've lost many runs to that Frost missing. And instead, I just had to go away and route out a backup strat for when it does miss. So we have a backup strat, and the backup strat actually is only about 3 seconds slower than the strat I'm going to do here, except for the fact you had to hard reset, which is another 16 seconds, so it's about a 20-second time loss altogether. So using Granite there is purely to generate extra BRN so that the Assassin Blade will proc and kill him. On that fight, I have to generate 9 BRN before Assassin Blade will proc, and there's actually no other good way of doing that. Because attacks generate either... Attacks usually generate 6, but some of them will generate 4 if they crit, those kinds of things. So it's not really a good way to do that, because there's nothing that really generates 3, so you can't do like attack plus 3. The only thing that does 3 is Gust, but it turns out that attack Gust is slower than Granite attack. So, whatever. We tried. Anyway, all these encounters are fixed, as I mentioned. That also means that the light pattern is fixed. I will always get green and yellow after this. And look at the range from which you can talk to that rock from. It's actually absurd. It's like a full person that you could fit in between that. Ideally, you'd get like yellow and white, or white-yellow, but you know, on balance, this is still the fastest strategy we have to go through this area. It doesn't look that optimal, but it's, like, especially at the 7-6 and stuff, is really gross. Like, 7-6 attack cancels on the previous 2 fights. Waiting on this item again so that I stay in control of the GRN so that I can manipulate the next encounters. But yeah, this is the best we can do. Yeah, I was remarking on that a while ago, on the statues in Soul Sanctum, how you can interact with some things that are super far away, and then there are statues in Soul Sanctum that you can't interact with far away. Yeah, exit enter there to reset the RNG. Okay. Everybody's got damage. I've got one more encounter in this. It's attacks first. I'm going to flee. Then I'm going to heal everybody. Stand by all my Djinn. Oh no. Yeah, stand by all my Djinn. Heal everybody. And then go into retreat mode. By retreat mode, I mean I'm going to use the retreat glitch. I'm going to do a little menu, obviously, but... and that'll be important in a moment. And now we get the Barbie cutscenes of death. It's quite appropriate because he's like dying at the moment. I guess this next split name kind of spoils the surprise anyway, so let's talk about it. So, as the next split suggests, we're going to go to Vale immediately after this. Now, one of the reasons that getting ground before this is faster is because it allows us to go to Vale immediately after this and get Kite. Werster gets Kite after killing Todompa because the travel time between Lumpa Cave and Vale is 9 seconds. So we are able to save 9 seconds by not having to do that anymore. sorry, the difference between that is it saves 9. It costs this whole strat saves 9 seconds. That's the point I'm trying to make here. What I'm going to do is I'm in retreat mode and I'm going to interact with this door. I don't remember what number this door is, but it's probably like door 5 or something. What's going to happen is the game's going to try and look up door 5 in the first area of this dungeon. It's going to try find it, and it's going to realize very quickly that there is no door 5. So what does the game do when it's trying to send you to a place it has no idea where it's to send you to? Well, it sends you to a default backup location, and that backup location happens to be outside of Vale. In TLA, it happens to be to the southwest of Madra. So then I'm going to go from there, I'm going to get into Vale, and then I'm going to get Kite. Okay, that's great and all, but now I'm on the wrong side of the ocean. I haven't been through Gondwan Cave, so if I'm on that side of the Lamakan Sea, or not, so the Karagol Sea, sorry, how do I get back across? Because there's no physical way for me to do that. Well, it turns out that there is special coding in Vale that means that the Vale Sanctum is never set to the Sanctum the Sanctum Warp point, meaning that it doesn't matter what happens, Tolby will remain my Sanctum Warp point even if I enter Vale. Now, if I happen to go from Vale to Vault, then I'm permanently locked out of the rest of the game. That would be very, very bad. So as long as I just stick to Vale and Vale Cave, then at the end of Vale Cave, I can Sanctum Warp back to Tolby. And that's really, really convenient. This is also really useful as well, because this is going to give me Kite. Now, Kite is great because Kite allows you to do extra actions, but more importantly, it's going to be my 21st Djinn. That's going to allow me to have 6 Djinn on Isaac. Now, when Werster did Colosso, he was level 13 because he killed the Hydros statue. We didn't, we skipped it. That meant he has access to Planet Diver, and you can do things like Scorch, Meteor, Planet Diver, and just kind of face roll everything. But because we don't have Planet Diver, the Colosso fights become a lot more difficult to route out, and they're a lot longer. Well, I say a lot, but it's like a couple turns longer. So the first fight is fine, but the second fight is 2 turns longer. Those 2 turns are obviously far quicker than the whole Hydros debacle, but we need to come up with ways to do that. By having Kite, we have that extra 6th Djinn. That's actually going to allow Isaac to do some pretty cool things in Colosso. We'll address them when we get to Colosso, but we've got some more fun stuff coming up in Vale. Like, this run's so incredible with how everything fits together. Like, it's come such a long way, and I'm amazed at how far it's come. Obviously, there's a bit of downtime here, so, you know, if there's questions, feel free to ask them. So here we go, we're going to walk through this door, and bam, we're in Vale. Split early, but who cares? That guy I just ran into, he's a jerk. I always run into him. Anyway, so we go back to Vale, we go to Vale Cave. Now what? Well, remember, do I do Dark Dawn runs? I have routed Dark Dawn, I have done it, but I don't have a streamable 3DS. Legrand Grand does have a streamable 3DS, and he does them. I think it's a great speedrun, it's really, really cool. It makes Dark Dawn significantly better. Alright, let me explain this really quick. Remember how I have a Mercury Lighthouse save file? Hard resets clear the sprite data. Now remember, when we're out of bounds and we're overflowing the coordinates, the game starts to read sprite data as tile data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to retreat, get out of bounds by resetting, get out of bounds by going into retreat mode, then hard resetting. Now, hard resetting is clearing the sprite data. I'm going to load the Mercury Lighthouse save file, then immediately soft reset. That's going to store the sprite data in the RAM. I'm going to reload Vale Cave, which doesn't have enough sprite data to overwrite the Mercury Lighthouse sprite data. Now I'm going to navigate over here, do some fancy ass movement, which is Like, if you are learning this category, do not do this. This is way too complicated. I'm also doing baby strats here. Do some funky movement out of bounds, and then bam, warped right to the end of the dungeon. There is a skip that doesn't require loading Mercury Lighthouse data into the RAM, but it loses about 23 seconds to the strategy I just did. And finding that out of bounds took 4 years or something. Yeah, we don't hate on Dark Dawn here. The Dark Dawn speedrun is amazing. I think it's 23 or 24 Fritzy, I don't recall exactly. Like, it's... Loses 5 to you, okay. I am confident it saves time. Alright, Colosso. Colosso has some more downtime. Nothing really exciting happening for a while. Well, the Mercury Lighthouse save was something I created during this run. So, in that sense, it's legal. Is there a combined game Dullahan category? We're working on it, but it's pretty much only a meme. Dullahan is not that interesting. We're trying to create a category that does it, but yeah. Yeah, we made that save file a very long time ago. The Lost Stage max percent does all of the super bosses except Dullahan, because TLA max percent, by the way, is do everything you possibly can. Get all Djinn, all summons that you can without a password. And we get all Djinn in the game except for Shine, which is the Djinn and Contigo that you need Force for. And we get all of the summons because we can just use the retreat glitch to get Iris. And we never have to fight Dullahan, and we do have to fight Star Magician, Valukar, and Sentinel. So it doesn't matter where we put people here, we just want to deposit them as quickly as we can. So the way Colosso works is just get to the end before your opponent. Your opponent's going to take the same amount of time every time, so yeah. Even if you go fast, it doesn't speed them up, so RIP. Yeah, Isaac's circle in Colosso being painted on is a really nice little detail. We get the oil drop. It's the only item we're going to get. The oil drop will be useful later on. Oil drop does about 100 damage, so it's quite a useful little item to pick up. So I'm setting Scorch and Kite there. So I'm on 0 BRN, as in I just reset the game and I haven't had a fight or anything. On 0 BRN, Scorch will always stun, so I'm going to stun him. The Colosso is the best part of the game only second best part of the game to the boat, obviously. Anyway, Scorch. Then I'm going to use Weaken. Based Weaken. That's going to make him weaker to Judgment, and Judgment's going to kill. Why do some one-shot Overwatch wait till they get to the Colossal platform second? Well, good question. If you win in Colosso, you get more armor. And the more armor you have, the harder it is for you to die to Navampa. So I believe it is possible if you get no armor and the right set of classes that Navampa can one-hit you. I'm not doing that. I need to get all the armor, otherwise they have too much resistance and they take more turns to kill, so I don't wait. Hey Gaius, welcome. So, Satrich is the scary guy, so we just beat Azart. Azart's easy. Always easy, never been difficult. Satrich, this guy is the real jerk. So as I mentioned before, we're level 12. So that makes this fight a little bit complicated. Plus the RNG is not really in our favor. Like the BRN is kind of gross. But there are ways to kind of make this fight work. What we do is we use the oil drop to do a bunch of damage. Then that's going to force him to defend. Then we're going to use Scorch while he's defending, and we're going to stun him. Once he's stunned, we're going to try and do things to keep him stun locked. That includes using Weaken to weaken him, Flint to be sure that we keep him stunned, and then Judgment to finish him off. The real trick to this fight is, as I said, doing the right actions so that he remains stunned through the whole fight and can't kill you. So we're not really using Kite at all here, just for the Apprentice class so that we can use Weaken a bunch. So as I said before, like having that 6th Djinn is really valuable here because it allows us to use Weaken in a bunch of places and that saves time. And there we go. You can see by how much damage he did that it's really important to keep him stunned, otherwise you just die. Or worse, he starts using nuts. I actually misdrew the Piers wasn't used as a spirit, which was kind of sad. But otherwise, you're right. Yeah, so the gladiators are weak to all elements. All, like, normal people, like just humans, have the same resistance to all elements. They all have 100 resistance. And all that means is that they end up being weak to everything. Yeah, Sheba is a spirit. I think. Pretty sure.
No, she isn't.
No, isn't she?
The spirits are Isaac, Old Isaac, Matthew, Garrett, Mia, Ivan, Felix, Jenna. That's it.
Okay, I thought Sheba was. Anyway, we have something to talk about. So, 30 minutes ago, we were talking about the fast climb glitch, where if you input the right command on the 14th frame, Isaac will immediately climb up a ladder. There are no actual uses for it. Okay, so that's there are no points where we would use it to save time because it's a frame perfect trick and it's too difficult. and there are easier alternatives. But in Colosso, we have time to kill. So we're just going to sit around here and climb up this wall. Yay, we did it. Consequence of fast climb is that we can almost always get fast conveyor belt as well, which is really neat. Yeah, that glitch is Golden Sun 1 only, can't be used in the Lost Age, unfortunately, and it doesn't save any time.
I'll just wait, I'll be implementing them in my freaking runs soon.
Yeah, have fun doing a frame perfect trick.
What's one extra? I'm already doing pixel perfect stuff. Can easily add that as well.
You're gonna do the pixel perfect frost thing?
No, I do the pixel perfect forge thread.
But that's
where
just,
I don't
no,
do it.
like actually. Yeah, but we're doing frame perfect trick in the run. But that saves time. Like, there's no instance where you'd use this fast climb tech to climb up something where you couldn't do it in another way that would just, on average, be faster.
Yeah, it's more like a swag.
It's swag strats, man, all the way. And we're back into more cutscenes. We get this intolerable Barbie cutscene, which is a whopping 4 minutes plus long. Oh yeah, definitely a task strat as well. Like, the task would make use of it everywhere. Yeah, I'm really sad that the fast climb wasn't in TLA. That would have like opened up a lot of opportunities for us. Oh well. Oh, it definitely would have RTA uses. You'd probably be able to do like a backwards airs rock type thing. Or like magma rock without... Like the blind climb magma rock without having to go into retreat mode. I don't know, Frost. They just patched it. They just patched whatever was funny about ladders and removed that frame buffer, which sucks. So Barbie's going to tell us more about how the world is ending. Oh no, sorry, how he's dying. Sorry, not the world is ending. He's too self-centered. It's Hydros who tells us about the world ending. Yeah, they patched the minor glitch in TLA of infinite climb and ladder stuff, and then made the retreat glitch better in TLA. And gives you like free soul blades and stuff, which is kind of cool. Yeah, you tell Hydros, but Hydros is like, he suspects that the world is ending because he has the map from Lumpa. So what's coming up next? We have Sap. We have to get to Sap. There's not much to say here other than a bunch more manipulation happening. We're going to do a soft reset just because we don't need to do the hard reset. And then just basically drain our PP so that we can start getting into retreat mode again. There's no real good way to do that. So we just have to cast Frost a bunch of times. One of the reasons why we set Scorch was so that Isaac has Scorch set after Colosso, and it just gives us 39 PP instead of 44 PP, I think. So we just do a soft reset. No, there's no reason for a hard reset. Just soft reset. Then cast Move and Frost a bunch of times. Run from some encounters. There is a little annoying thing in Gondor Cave though. There's like a move puzzle in there, and using move on an object obviously changes the RNG and in an inconsistent way. But thanks to Fritzy, we have some setups now for that look pretty consistent. Like there's pretty much two possibilities that come out of the whole situation once you do all the setups. It just so happens that both of those setups are good for this category, so that's good. Other than that, then we get into Vault Cave. Vault Cave has a nice little out of bounds thing, and Baal actually came up with the strat for that one, where you can use the audio cue to work out how to move in the out of bounds to skip the dungeon. Lift, skip, and magma rock be as holy grail-y as dupe, prong dupe. Yeah, you pointed out how to do it to me, Fritzy, at least, so I give you credit. It would be interesting. I don't know if it's as significant as prong dupe. All it would allow you to do is to skip Isaac's party. So you could skip the whole reunion cutscene. That's about it. There is no prong dupe. That's kind of like the holy grail time save in TLA. Because it doesn't matter what prong you give Obaba, she doesn't distinguish between them. So you could give her 3 center prongs or 3 left prongs and it would still allow you to forge the trident. Yeah, we can skip the reunion cutscene at the moment, but we need lift, so... Nice. Hey, Buttface, welcome.
Yo, it's Buttface McBrainlag. He's here.
What else? I think that the big skip would be Blaze skip. Anyway, so if you could skip Blaze in TLA, then you could, in theory, do the first flight cutscene glitch out of bounds, get to Mars Lighthouse by skipping all of Magma Rock. That'd be kind of cool. But let's get back to this. So we're going to do a bunch of synergy. I have a nasty habit of taking a step in this dungeon, so I actually have a backup strat for when I take a step. Like, making backup strats for when you're bad is like peak bad speedrunning, but whatever. So 5 frosts here. That's going to make the next encounter like a mini goblin or something, and we can just run away from him. Yeah, that hobgoblin rat combo. 3 more moves. So clearly this isn't the most optimal way to drain your PP because I'm doing synergy in the wrong times, I'm taking steps and stuff, but this just works out for this manipulation, so whatever. So just running into that rock, like just below that rock, just wedging yourself in there, then going up to cast move, just makes it slightly more consistent. Gives you only 2 possibilities. Both of them result in not getting an encounter to Calais, into exit Calais to reset the step counter back to 0, then get the next encounter on the other side of the bridge. So this obviously isn't stuff Werster would have done, just kind of YOLO'd it. Now to Vault. Baal, are you still around?
Yes, I'm here.
You excited to see your strat in action?
Oh, the vault blindfolded thing?
Yeah, it's really cool. This ladder coming up actually is one of the ones where fast climb would be useful. you can fast climb and fast fall, but obviously falling, there's no swaggy place you can do it. You can see that I kind of like twitched upwards there. That was me trying to do it. I failed, so I just gave up and just moved on. Not worth trying it more than once. Do you remember the audio cue bar?
Yes, I remember it, but it's kind of hard to explain it in words because it's like the third cycle of something, and then you start holding up left.
No, it's you hold up until the first beat of the second bar, then it's up left. So.
Yeah, I'm really bad at describing it. It's stupid. Yeah. I know how to do it perfectly, but...
Yeah. And if you happen to get an encounter here, you can just flee from it. So the step out of bounds movement is really straightforward. It's just hold up until the fifth beat. And on the fifth beat, you hold up left. Or second big beat, which is the start of the second bar, all the same. Really, really cool skip. And it's probably like the bane of my practice existence because I never practiced with sound. So I just kind of had to learn how to do it by feel. Because I'd be practicing the segment and get to that point like, take 10 tries to get it. Because I'm not listening. Alright, Lumper. So, more of a reminder of why the Assassin Blade is really good. Just going to do a little retreat glitch. Tiny menu first, but then retreat glitch. Get out of bounds, do some stuff. So right on the corner of this light thing here, that little light radius, retreat, get out of bounds. What we're going to do is we're going to be navigating blind to get to that staircase in the bottom left there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold left, then down, then up right, and we'll get in the door. Yeah, you can actually, if you sit down and practice this out of bounds, you can actually find that there are like pretty safe setups to always get it. They might be a little bit slower, but you know, you can always hit it. So yeah, the Assassin Blade is pretty good. So we're doing all these little micro actions in between, like Mist and Prism, just to tick over the BRN to a point that the Assassin Blade will proc and kill. Werster was doing this stuff in his run as well, just different setup. The main reason why things are different is because Isaac has the ninja hood in his route, and we don't have the ninja hood in this one. Just jump over the wall, get the key. So this is probably the only instance that I know of that the strat is clearly suboptimal. And I do it suboptimally just so RNG can't kill you. After this room, there is the room immediately after this, in between the two whirlwinds, can give you an encounter and just kill you. So what I did was I do the first whirlwind, reset here, and then kind of react to whatever the encounter is on the whirlwind, which is random. Yeah, no Ninja Hood. Ninja Hood is dead. So this whirlwind here is going to give me, I think it's like 8 different possible encounters. One of them requires 28 attack cancels. That one's the rarest one. But now I can just get to the end of the dungeon without a problem, while ticking over enough BRN so that I can kill Tadompa with ease. Now this is, strictly speaking, inferior to what I was doing before. It loses about anywhere from 3 to 8 seconds, I think, or maybe more than that, depending on how fast you do things. But I'm I like the safety of it, so I'm going to keep doing it, I think.
I mean, 28 cancels. Yeah, that's pretty great. It's kind of like that one outcome in my most recent strat for the freaking Sulhala Desert as well, with the 19 attack cancels. Like, fuck me.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
risky war with that.
No, that was fine. The only reason I can't speed up the 28 attack cancels is because it results from a duplicate encounter. So, if you get 2 bats, there is a really, really low chance that it's the wrong mob, and you get an encounter where you have to react to it with 28 attack cancels. Otherwise, it's like super free, and it's just like a 0 attack cancel kind of thing. But only because it's a duplicate can we not do anything about it. A good question. So back when Werster was doing runs, like, this was the great new innovation. Like, aha, you can kill Todonpa with the Assassin Blade. 6 years later, that's, well, I guess 5 years later for that run. That's no longer such a big deal or a secret. Depending on the encounter we get leading into this, we have to do different things to get to the right BRN, but not a big deal. We got the Hobgoblins, so we have to do Ray and Prism to generate the BRNs we're missing from the mobs that we would have otherwise mobs we would have otherwise fought. He thrashes someone, doesn't really matter. Oh. And there we go, Todompa's down, and we're finally level 13. And now we have a ton more cutscenes. The only interesting thing to say is that in the Bunza cutscene, you just need to say no at the right time to save 4 seconds, otherwise it's not a big deal. I see that frame drops are starting to come through, which is not great. We may have to restart the stream. We'll just see how that goes. Just let me know if it becomes too bad. Yeah, the Assassin Blade strat was found in a really funny way. I was in like a MSN chat or something with Chiron or something, like really old school. And we were just screwing around, and I remember he's saying some memey thing like, oh, you should just try and Assassin Blade the Todonpa, like, lol, that'll work, like, whatever. So I just went into the Todonpa fight and just attacked with everybody, and it worked, and I was like, what the fuck? This is incredible, what the shit? Like, it was the first time anybody had Assassin Bladed a boss intentionally. And we were just freaking out about this, and then we realized that, hey, actually, almost everything can be Assassin Bladed. Isn't that nice?
Attack, 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 attack.
Yeah. Hey, Curly, thanks for the congratulations. And how was the pineapple pizza, guys?
It was amazing as always, because pineapple on pizza is just the best fucking thing ever. Anyone else who is disagreeing is just plain fucking wrong. Get out of the room right now.
My pizza was fine, but it's... I mean, I didn't mind it, actually. It's just, you know, I put double bacon on it, so it was probably gonna be fine, you know?
I actually have a really tragic story.
So it was pineapple with double bacon.
I have a tragic story about pineapple pizza. So me and Neela got pizza yesterday. We got a pineapple pizza, obviously. Pineapple, ham, good stuff, cheese, tomato, mushroom, beautiful. I'm super excited because tomorrow, during the run, I can eat pineapple pizza and meme with you guys. But then, she ate it all today. And I have no pineapple pizza, and I'm really sad. That's okay. How bad are the dropped frames right now? They seem pretty bad on my end. If there was a time to restart the stream, it would be during this dumb, stupid cutscene.
It's starting to drop some frames.
Alright, I am going to restart the stream then. Hopefully I can connect to Twitch afterwards. Let's give it a go.
Oh man, and another splice.
Alright, stream restarted. Yeah, I got a local recording for Etsy, no big deal.
Oh yeah, so the actual fake splice is coming up soon, right?
Yeah. The one that no one will believe is a thing. Just get out, this is impossible. Run confirm spliced. Yeah, this time I had no problems connecting to Twitch, which is nice. Actually, who had someone had a question in chat before. What change did I make to this run? Everything. Depending on your last point of context, everything. From my 402, just safety strats and changed crossbone and a change to Saturos Minati Fusion Dragon, which we'll cover once we get to them.
Man, we should have gotten Legrand in as well, and just forced him to get a pineapple pizza as well.
I'm so disappointed he missed this.
Or
We can do that at ESA if Plexa manages to come.
Yeah, that's true.
maybe I can get on a train from Cardiff to London, and then from London to Paris, and from Paris to freaking.
Why would you ever go on purpose to Paris? Just asking.
Well, I need the train, and it goes from to like no, well, not Paris obviously, but it's a high-speed train, so it goes straight from. I mean, that's the fastest way to do it.
Yeah, but you're entering France, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm in England, so I have to.
Currently, I
That's
would
the only
love
way.
to order another pizza,
You can take a boat.
but it's 4
I
a.m.
can think about. That's way slower. What?
Alright, there is
Just-
actually something to
just
talk
sit
about here.
To fix your boat?
Using retreat saves a second if it's hotkeyed. It was not hotkeyed. I lost time. Continue on. We're just going to be assassin blading more stuff. We're not missing anything.
I mean, this was just all going. Don't go to France, but I mean, if I were to go to ESA, then I would have to, because that's the cheapest and fastest way.
No one has to go to France, please.
I have to go
Such a
through
hater.
France. Like,
Such a hater, Bar.
You want me to go?
I'm not a hater. It's just that I've made hating on France my lifestyle meme, and I have to pull it through until I die.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay. Coming up is the worst thing in the game. It is leaving Lumpa. So, Lumpa happens to have RNG change every frame. So, in order to get anything consistent out of Lumpa, we have to leave Lumpa frame perfectly. Now, this isn't hard, but it's easy to fail, right? Most runs don't fail it, but there will be that run where you fail it and you'll feel bad about it.
It's like surprisingly easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's frame perfect, so it's difficult. And welcome, Fritzy.
Hey.
Welcome to the chat. It's so annoying, though. I actually worked out a backup strat for it. So if you do get the wrong encounter, you can do Mind Read in the overworld, take a step, use Move and Frost, and then you're back on track. How's that?
Oh, that's neat.
It's very neat.
Yeah, when I started, it was like I never got it, and then I practiced it a couple times, and now I never fail it. It's really weird.
Yeah, you never fail it until you fail it, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ever since I worked out the backup strat, I haven't failed it, but there will be that time where I fail it, and I'll be like, thank you, backup strat.
Yeah, and then you're just glad you have it.
Yeah, it's almost like every time you work out a backup strat, you never need it. So, whatever. This stuff is slightly different to what Werster does, mostly because we don't need to get hit by the rat to generate enough BRN to Assassin Blade the Storm Wizard stuff, but the same concept's basically the same. Go fast. I actually heal Ivan here because I'm scared that the RNG, enemy AI is going to do something mean, so just be safe because I don't want to lose a run to that. Although I know in my heart that it will never happen, I just want the security that even if it did happen, it won't be an issue. So this is rat right on the corner, and in Werster's run he flees, and then flees again. I'm just going to 5 attack cancel it. And that's going to be good enough for my purposes.
I like it how you're like comparing to Werster's run most of the time instead of mine.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of people that's where the point of comparison is going to be, right? Werster's world record stood for so long that for most people who aren't super into Golden Sun, that's where the comparison is. And your run is somewhere of a hybrid between this and that, so I think it's good to reference Werster, and in the end, like, my goal here is to beat Werster's 357.42, not to beat your time, right? So lots of reasons. Anyway, kill these guys, not too hard, just don't mess up the attack cancelling, but I've messed up the attack cancelling before, so I have backup strats for every Storm Wizard.
Wow.
And as I mentioned, since I worked them out, I've never needed them.
Yeah, this part's rather simple.
Well, up to basically every other fight, I need to have the Elven shirt equipped. So after every fight, I'm either equipping it or unequipping it. And that's purely just to manipulate what the BRN generation is so that I can get the Assassin Blade procs off. This next fight, I think I incorrectly said that I need ground to generate a BRN. It doesn't generate a BRN. I lied. But it does change the GRN to something very favorable, so it's worth doing.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very new thing.
I think my encoding's gonna, or my local recording's gonna be like patchy as well. Like OBS is giving me like errors and stuff. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not great. I was asking if you're local recording, but
Oh well, I have a raw recording of this, so it's not a big deal.
yeah, fair enough. Just in case.
Exactly. So Storm Lizard, I'm gonna get the fight in a very particular location so that I can basically control where the Storm Lizard, how much RNG the Storm Lizard's advancing. Because every frame that he moves, or every couple of frames that he moves, he kicks up a dust cloud, which generates an RNG. So if I get in a specific location, I know approximately where it is. Now, the next fight, I'm going to get attacks first, so whatever that fight happens to be, I can do an attack cancel to offset whatever the RNG difference is. That way I can leave Suhala with the correct GRN. This cutscene's annoying because I have used Douse after this cutscene more times than I'd like to admit. But if you pay attention, you should never need to do it. Anyway, what we're going to do now is... Obviously, we didn't get an encounter between Suhala and Suhala Gate. That is because I have good GRN. I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to enter exit here. This sets my Sanctum Warp point to the Suhala Gate Sanctum. I'm going to use move. That's going to change my GRN to something which makes me going to avoid encounters on the way to Suhala. And then I'm going to use Mind Read so I can get only one encounter between the start of Suhala and Flash. Whew. And I'm going to go up left there, right at the end, just so I can enter Suhala Desert slightly faster than just holding left.
Oh, you got the fast mind read as well.
Yeah, he mentioned me that, and I was like, oh yeah, you can do that. Saved me like a good second.
So I'm setting Scorch there because later on I'm going to go to Crossbone Isle, and at Crossbone Isle I'm going to need to use Growth a bunch, so we preset Scorch so that Isaac can just use it. Oh, and of course we have attacks first on Flash, but I completely forgot to mention that because by this point it's like the game is doing what I want it to do. The only thing that I couldn't get it to do was to allow me to Assassin Blade Flash, but that's okay because we get to Assassin Blade something else later on. So Crossbone Isle is now very, very different to what Werster did. Obviously, this is all based on the same BRN seed from Leaving Lumpa, which was not the case for him. But more than that, I've tried to do this in a way which minimizes the amount of menus that I need to do. The whole reason being that menus are slow, so you want to try and eliminate as many of them as you can. That plus better knowledge of how BRN works makes this a really insane Crossbone Isle. We'll cover the specifics of each fight as we get to them.
The recording here is gonna...
Sorry?
The recording there was really choppy, I don't know. Right now even.
It's really choppy at the moment.
It might have just been the stream, yeah.
Might be the stream.
Your internet's having some issues, I think.
No, I think that's just OBS dying, actually.
Oh.
It's fine now again, actually. Maybe it will hold.
Yeah, it's OBS dying. RIP.
Yeah. Seems like every now and then it happens. Okay.
So this first fight's pretty straightforward. Judgment Thor, no big deal. So the next one has, well, I call her a siren, but I think it's like whatever the last form of the nightmare is or whatever. Siren Bear. The siren can either be in the leftmost position or the rightmost position, depending on GRN. The way that I do this fight, I want to have the siren die before she does anything. So Isaac is going to target Judgment her, Ivan's going to cast Thor in the middle, and they're both going to act before the siren does anything by the way that I configure my Djinn. That's going to kill the siren. Then Mia's going to finish off the two bears before they get off in action. The way this works out is quite cool, given that I don't have a ninja hood, which makes it kind of trivial.
Yeah, it's pretty important to know that they can be at different positions, or you can get screwed if you don't know that, and you're attacking the wrong enemies.
Yeah. Actually, it might have just been Suhala Desert with all those stupid artifacts that were killing the stream. That would make a lot of sense, actually. So the reason that I set Mars Djinn on Mia is twofold. One, for agility purposes. Two, for damage purposes. Ember actually gives her just enough damage, plus a little beer in RNG luck, to just kill the Mauler. Like, literally 0 HP, exactly. No overkill. Next door is kind of straightforward. There's a ghost and two things that I don't even remember what they are. The ghost is fast, but it's only going to use Curse on someone, which doesn't do any damage, which is fine. I'm also going to do something. I'm going to try and kill them all at the same time. The reason I do that is so that I can manipulate what the BRN is. We'll come to why that's necessary in a minute. But for instance, on this fight, Werster just kills them as fast as he possibly can by using, like, I forget what he uses, but I know he uses Procna to finish them off because it's fast. I'm using these particular summons because they work, and you get this ending where they all die, which is important. So I'm going to heal people here, and that's only because it's convenient to heal now, not because I need to heal now. I want to make that very clear. The next fight is the double griffin fight, which is the first fight we can't kill with less summons. Hey, High Spirits, welcome, man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand by a whole bunch of I'm going to set a whole bunch of stuff, sorry. This is going to allow me to kill one of the griffins before it can get an action off. And because of the way I did the previous fight, and all of the fights at this point basically, the other griffin can only use, will use impact, which does nothing. So the griffin's going to do nothing to me, which is fantastic. So you can see there that Nia outsped the griffin. Setting those 3 Djinn on her make her do that, which is good. Griffin's going to use impact, and then we can just meteor it to death. So this is a little bit annoying. You have to recover 5 Djinn, but this puzzle isn't very long. So you're going to see me wiggle around for a while just to recover those extra Djinn. I'm going to wiggle on the stairs. And 2 more Djinn. Now I'm going to do like very, very, very new strategy. So new that I'm doing bad things. Well, I accidentally did a misinput that confused me, so that's why it was slow. So normally what you do here is you just summon rush and kill everything. But I found a way to get the Assassin Blade to proc on the Lizard King, and that saves... how much time does that save, Fritzy? Like 24 seconds?
Well, I'm really not sure.
I think it saves like... No, it saves like 16 seconds. That's right.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's in total with the other strat that it saves more. Yeah, so that's really, really, really cool. Only issue is the Stone Soldier uses Blast, which can hit 2 or 3 people, which affects the RNG for the next fight. But it's in such a way that there's only 2 possible outcomes, so I have a strategy routed for each possibility, so we're going to do that. Unfortunately, there is no such cool Assassin Blade kill things strat for the next fight, so we just have to summon rush them to death, and you can see how much slower it is using flash, then summon, then summon on the next turn.
Yeah, the fact it takes 2 turns is the difference.
Not even that, like, I mean,
I...
the Lizard King fight was also really bad, because you could just summon rush straight into him, but it was still really, really slow, and he used high impact, and it's just gross.
The previous puzzle's kind of like what I mentioned way earlier in the run, like having a new set of eyes looking at it. Like you can save time on the most simple things, like that puzzle there. It's like I remember at one point, like you were streaming routing this, and then I was like, "Hey, can't you just like walk around the log?" And it was like, "Oh yeah," stuff like that.
Curly, I have a written sheet of all my strats. I have the whole route memorized. I don't actually have my notes open right now. The only thing I don't remember is some of the obscure backup strategies. And you just, like, to go fast in this game, you just kind of have to have it memorized, right?
Yeah, especially for the menus. Like, the battle menus are okay, but especially the Djinn menus when you need to swap around the Djinns. That's something that you should have memorized.
Yeah.
Well, 4 hours isn't too bad, because most of it is just knowing, like, map layouts and knowing where to go in the maps. And the battles aren't too bad, really, because most of them really don't take longer than, like, 3 or 4 turns. Exception is Saturos, but that's really, really a special battle.
Yeah, and I mean, like, all the numbers to flee. That's just a string of numbers that you can remember. Like, it's looks far more impressive than it is. It's pretty easy just to grind out the difficult things. Like, it's not that bad.
It's the same for the menus when I practice and I look at it and it looks really impressive, and then I do it a few times and I see, oh, it's really not that bad.
No, it's not. The Oh, actually, I need to do a few things here. So I'm setting retreat, using halt, draining PP so I can be prepared for Dew. Because I'm going to soft reset here, which means I'm going to keep the beer in from this dungeon. That's most certainly not something that Werster did. And that's just going to put us in a good place to allow us to Assassin Blade our good friend Dew.
All those places you soft reset in.
Yeah, soft resets everywhere, man.
Yep.
I mean,
the old run from Werster used to like hard reset everywhere.
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
didn't matter back then, but
exactly. This strat hasn't changed since then. Run to the end of the room and out. Yeah. I'm amazed there isn't a better strat for this yet, but well, it doesn't exist.
true.
Alright, so Dew's going to try and run, so we have to do some attack cancelling. No big deal though. So having to use impact to trigger the Immortal Danger was basically the result of that Stone Soldier using Blast on 2 people instead of 3. If it used Blast on 3 people, then you can go into this fight with attacks first and just kill it. Oh no, sorry, without attacks first, you have to use ground to get there instead, but yeah. Anyway, impact is the 2 blast strat. Venus Lighthouse 1, really cool thing. A very long time ago I realized that you don't get encounters when the reveal thing is up in this dungeon, and only this dungeon for some inexplicable reason, and it only works in English, again, for an inexplicable reason. So we're just going to cast Reveal at strategically located points throughout this dungeon to get through this dungeon, I guess, optimally, or as fast as possible without getting any encounters. And conveniently, after we finish this dungeon, we're also not going to get any encounters to Lalavero. And now, who's ready to see the splice, or quote-unquote not splice, but really is a splice, but not really?
I've been waiting over 3 hours now.
Yep.
I guess he's just gonna get blue on the first try.
Yeah, man, first try blue.
Spliced, calling it.
First try blue doesn't happen, no. Actually, both my 3, 5, 8 and this run get first try blue. It's ridiculous. I've never had, like, I haven't had first try blue in any attempt I've done until my 3, 5, 8. And then I got it in the next run as well. Like, what the fuck?
Pretty sure I had it in both of my 400s too, which was like really weird.
Oh, clearly you splice as well then.
Yeah, I do.
I think my 258 Mealist has first try blue as well.
Alright, let's see. First try blue. So there are 2 pathways in Venus 1. When you talk to that statue, it either gives you the blue path or the yellow path. And it alternates on every frame. So one frame is yellow, next frame is blue. And almost always it is yellow, despite it being 50-50. Now you can't do the yellow path. It is like 5 minutes slower. It's absurdly bad. So if you get yellow, you just have to talk to the statue again and you get blue. It costs like 5-6 seconds or something.
More like 10.
Whatever, it sucks. But we just kind of accepted it as the reality that we always get yellow and then all these blues. Anyway, we need to go shopping. We need to buy a bunch of things. Only thing worth remarking is Spirit Armlet going to Mia, because that gives her a plus 10 Mercury power, which is kind of cool. Other than that, it's pretty unremarkable. Sell a couple of high value items, no big deal.
We're finally upgrading our like early game equipment.
Yeah, with our padded gloves and shit.
equipment's really overrated in this game.
Unless it has like plus power or plus resist, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
The Warrior's Helm gives plus 15 Venus attack, but is really, really slow to get, so we don't get it. But if it was like in this building, we'd get it and use it. So one last menu coming up. Now this menu is where I made a mistake in my 358, and I was dead set on not making that mistake, and well, please, hopefully I don't make the mistake. Well, I don't, but spoiler.
Spliced.
Baby rage spoilers.
Yeah, right at the end, I need to go swap Ember with Flash, and I didn't do that in my 358.
You can actually stand further away from that Djinn and still grab him.
Really? Like across the pot?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Just golden sun things.
So now I'm like pretty happy. I'm like, yes, we did it. The menu was correct. I made sure of it. We're gonna crush this time. What could possibly go wrong? I could hit the old lady.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's like a problem point now.
It's fine, I missed the old lady. I'm good, nothing can go wrong. Oh shit, fuck. I hit the guy going to Lalavero Tunnel. That screws up the RNG.
Oh god, yeah. This
Rip.
pod's weird.
Okay, so what do you do at this point? Well,
Pray.
no, you don't pray.
Splice.
Not a run this far ahead, Fritzy. You do the backup strat.
You frame rewind and you
You splice.
So when I was
Well, I
talking,
would just pray.
yeah, so when I was talking about backup strats, like it's really, really important I get this the way that I need to get it. Otherwise, I'm going to lose minutes because my entire manipulation depends on this. So I'm doing a bunch of random synergy here to advance my GRN to the point where it should be at by the time I kill Luff. So, no, this backup strat is not for the thing that killed my previous pace run. This is because I ran into a guy on the way to onto the way to the goddamn Barbie Lighthouse. And I've never done that before, but I have a backup, like an all-purpose backup strat in case something goes wrong, so... Whatever, okay. We eat the 30-second time penalty and just continue on our merry way. And feel sad that we lost 30 seconds, but it could have been much worse. Because if we get an encounter in this room, we're going to lose like 40 plus seconds. I say 40 plus because 40 plus just from the resets, and then even more if the encounter kills us or does bad things to us. So 30 seconds doesn't seem that bad, all things considered. Alright, so this next stretch of the game was a great revelation mid-year to us. And that was like kind of the beginning of how BRN manipulation came about. BRN is battle random number. That determines whether you get attacks first or things like that.
Yeah, this place is like completely different from Werster's run.
Yeah, completely different. So Werster could just go through the whole thing and just hard reset because there's no penalty. We want to not hard reset because every time we hard reset, we lose 7 seconds basically, or 6 or 7 seconds. I don't remember the exact number. 6 seconds, I think we agreed on. So the way we get around that is we want to soft reset in strategic locations that are going to give us encounters that we can guarantee flee from, or do things in such a way that we guarantee that the next encounter will be attacks first. So what we did was we went away and did all this routing and realized that, oh, if we get this encounter here, that's a free encounter, then we can get an encounter here, that's a free encounter, that gives us attacks first, and then we get this other encounter that we can do manipulated things on and get double attacks first after that. And all of that saves like 5 or 6 hard resets, it saves a shitload of time. That's like 40 seconds in just resetting better than Werster. So there's a whole bunch of like crazy manipulation that's about to happen that doesn't look crazy, but routing wise is crazy. And when we realized that BRN manipulation was actually a really cool thing, then we started going to town on like Alton and stuff, and that's where Fretzy came up with his double BRN manip strat, double attacks first strats, and you know that kind of opened up that window as well. So very, very interesting stuff. I don't know if that was two things were related, but that was definitely the timeline.
They're not necessarily like faster in Alton, but just really much safer.
Yeah. They're definitely slower compared to Optimal, but Optimal is so unlikely. The classic use reveal instead of move. Love it. Oh crap, I never updated my title. My bad. I can change it now. People can come in for the finale.
Yep. There's no more really big cutscenes until right before the final boss.
Yeah.
So get ready.
Alright, I probably killed the stream a little bit because of that, but oh well.
Yeah, it's a super nice slideshow right now.
Nice.
As Legrand would call it, the pineapple curse.
I'm just gonna say it's because I got a crap PC, but that's fine.
I mean, it's still playing, if you could call it that, but it's definitely a frame-by-frame adventure.
Yep, it's a nice DS show.
Oh, it's back, I think. Sort of.
Sorta. Press F.
Yeah, it's just telling me encoding overload. Let me restart the stream really quick. I'll just pause things while we do that. Okay, calm down. Here we go. Okay, we're back live, hopefully. Am I uploading this run with commentary in some way? Yes, I will. Alright, are we alive? Is it stable-ish?
I mean, it's live, but I can't. It's currently paused, so I can't see.
Oh, fantastic. Alright, we can start going again. Alright, so we used lift in this room, or carry, doesn't matter. That's going to manipulate things, so we get a 2 skeleton mob here. And we can just run away from it immediately, which is fantastic. So I'm going to do this puzzle here without using move. Using move saves a little bit of time. I almost went to try and do the move solution, but I saved it. It saves a little bit of... it loses about a second or something. But at the trade-off, I stay in control of the RNG, so I'm going to try it. That's the rationale behind that. So we're just going to solve this as fast as we can without using move, pushing things around.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Then we're going to get into Venus 2. Pretty much as an extension of this. We're just going to keep doing the same thing. We're going to abuse the fact we know what the GRN is to manipulate where we get encounters and make sure that those encounters are good for us. So we're going to get a Griffin mob after the next move puzzle, and that Griffin mob will give us attacks first for the next fight. So move to manipulate their step counter, then double move to manipulate the step counter again. Then we can retreat warp through, get this, no problem. And then right before we climb back up this ladder, we're going to soft reset. and then we're going to cast Lift or Carry again, and then we're going to get the double Griffin that I promised. So we got the double Griffin. Again, that's a 0 AC, that's fine. That's made it so that the BRN is now, the next fight is going to be attacks first. And that next fight's going to happen immediately after we cross the sand stream. Alright, so we do this puzzle, not too hard. Next is the Sandstream room, up left to minimize the step counter that we're generating. We had attacks first, we can run, and we shouldn't get another encounter until the next room, until the switch room, but I'm scared. So we'll just save the game just in case, because it is possible to get an encounter, and we'll just, this far ahead, we'll just take it easy. Not pressure ourselves or anything, just go for it. So the next room, there's a switch. We stand on the switch, save the game, reset, then we get a very particular encounter in that room. And we're going to use that encounter to advance the BRN to a point where we're able to get 2 attacks first in a row, similar to what we had in Alton. And shoutouts to Carry missing. Like, how does it do that?
Just happens sometimes.
That happens way too often.
But
Yeah.
I missed Carry. I didn't take a step. I used Carry again, and it worked.
Yeah, that's like
that
that.
works. It's the same every time.
It's like that one run that died to you using Frost, and it
Oh,
missed,
yeah.
even though you were like right in front of it.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, so here's the special
So-
encounter. So we do 2 attack cancels, then try to run, and that only makes 2 of them attack instead of 3 for some reason. Try to run again, they keep wailing on us, and then we run. And now we have attacks first for 2 encounters. Gotta get the Gaia Blade and do a final little menu, do a little touch up. Equip some items, give Mia a vial because she needs it. Stand by some Djinn. Be super careful not to set anything that's already been standbyed. Heal up, and now we're good to go for Saturos Minati Fusion Dragon. This puzzle is a thing. Nothing much to say except do it fast.
Don't fall asleep.
Yep. I guess.
Just solve it for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this takes like close to a minute, so.
I guess the only thing to say is that we're going to go into Saturos Minati Fusion Dragon with a completely different strategy to pretty much anything that's been done before. Unless you've seen my 358, which I'm pretty sure is pretty much just Fritzy at this point.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, Faralos, the Assassin Blade doesn't work on Saturos Minati, Fusion Dragon, or Deadbeard. Their luck value is too high.
Yeah, it was like 40 luck or something.
Yeah, 40 luck
Doesn't
hold
work.
means nothing will ever work.
Yep.
So this
So
Saturos...
just, level up.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't change it, actually.
Grab those freaking cookies.
No, because once
Lucky
they
peppers, sorry.
once they are at 40, they're immune. So there's nothing we can do about it. So Saturos Minati Fusion Dragon, they're interesting. We're gonna do the first couple turns will look kind of familiar, but not really. So now that I'm out of attacks first, I'm going to hard reset to guarantee that the next one is attacks first. And you can see how much longer a hard reset is compared to all the soft resets I've been doing. And ironically, I actually want to get an encounter before Saturos Minati Fusion Dragon because I'm going to soft reset into the fight. And that in itself is a bit, whoa, what the hell's going on here? Because we've been hard resetting before the fight forever. I actually do want one beer in here, which is what happens when you flee from an attacks first fight. That's pretty much because it gives Isaac more HP. And I missed my Aerie split, RIP. That ultra late split.
F for Aerie. Hey, at least I'll have a gold S&M split.
Yeah.
Clap. The fake gold. Or is it a real gold, actually? Maybe.
And it's probably
I haven't seen it yet.
an exaggerated gold. By the way that the fight unveils, in the 0 BRN strategy, Isaac takes more damage. So he doesn't heal back up to near full, or as close to full as I would like. Whereas with this strategy, he takes less damage and can therefore be healed up to full. Just a minor thing. So with 1 BRN, what's going to happen is Minati's going to use Flare Wall instead of, I think it's Mad Blast at 0. And that's going to be a faster animation, and it's going to only hit 3 people. And that's going to fix the BRN to be where I want it to be, where it would have been with 0 anyway. So that's quite a nice little trick thing there. So we'll walk through the fight as we get into it. There's still a lot more dialogue to go. Yeah, my bio is super out of date, just ignore it. Speedrun.com does a great job of keeping track of everything.
True.
Yeah, let's talk about some relevant stuff. All of the old strategies, what they do is turn 2, ground Minati, blow up Minati with summons, use Vine on Saturos, stand by a couple more Djinn, heal Isaac, kill Saturos. That's the strategy. We're not going to do that. The plan is blow up. We're going to ground Minati anyway, but we're going to blow up Saturos. And then we're going to let Minati do her thing on us. And then we're going to kill Minati. The important thing is that we're going to retain Vine. I want to use Vine on the Fusion Dragon, not on Saturos, which is what we've been doing up to this point. So let's go. Let's see what happens. Oh wait, there's still more dialogue. God, there's always more dialogue. So turn
There's
1...
always more dialogue.
Yeah, so turn 1 is 1 attack
Instead
capsule,
instead of
then the usual thing.
sorry.
So that's pretty much the same turn 1, except there's an attack cancel. Oh, Flare Storm, there we go. Hits 3 people, bang into Isaac. So see how... Bang into Ivan, sorry. See how it didn't attack Isaac? So that's why this is fine. So the strat is quite similar for the first 2 turns, then it deviates a little bit more. God, these summons are killing my computer. RIP.
It's okay, you're almost done.
Yeah. So here, normally we target Thor on Minardi, but this time I targeted on Saturos, and then everything else on Saturos as well, except for the only thing that targets Minardi is the Tiamat. So this way Saturos dies, and Minardi has about 200 HP left. So now I'm going to use Quartz instead of Vine. And then just the same as before, just blast some Djinn into her, so Mist Flint Sap. So Quartz isn't very useful, but Vine is very useful, so saving Vine is massive.
Yeah, we're just kind of setting up some Djinns for the Fusion Dragon battle here.
I'm also trying to kill her, she's got a lot of HP. So I actually have to use Spire because he has too much HP and she needs to take some damage. So sort of Spire into her and that's enough to kill her, or get her closer to kill range. Then Spritz Fizz to get Isaac back to full HP rather than using an item. And then Hail to finish off the fight. Rainbow Kill, not a big deal, who cares. Billions of level ups, whatever.
Yep. Usually, back in the day, we would leave Saturos alive, but only recently we started keeping Minardi alive instead.
Well, recently as in like 2 weeks before this run happened.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, so it's really, really, really nice that Minardi uses Impact twice. It's pretty much the only thing she can use that won't slow the fight down, and it just so happens that she does it, so that's super amazing. Okay, Fusion Dragon, really short fight. 5 turns. As long as Werster's, but better. The level up... There's no level up text from Rainbow Kill, as far as I know, but yes, Rainbow Kills in general slow things down, but the extra Djinn standby is too valuable to pass up. Okay. Fusion Dragon. What do we need to know about Fusion Dragon? The fight is pretty free, except for turn 2. If Fusion Dragon attacks Mia, she's in trouble. If it's just attack, that's okay. We have a healing item to fix that. If it's attack and Drain Fang, then Mia dies, and we have to fix that. Otherwise, the strat's pretty free. Otherwise, Fusion Dragon's like super free and no problem at all. Alright, here we go. So, turn 1, Vine, Tonic, Flash, and Boreas. One thing I'm also going to do is I'm also going to set Flash on Ivan, because it's faster to do that than use Mars, because Mars is a slow ability, whereas setting Flash takes almost no time. It also frees up people to do more useful things than summon Mars. So this turn we're using Judgment, Granite, Flash, and Breeze. Now Breeze is set up instead of Zephyr, because Breeze is going to give us more resistances that'll help us survive an undefended, a non-Granite Flash turn Dragon Driver, which is an entirely non-elemental attack. So you could use Zephyr, and that's like plausibly better, maybe, not really, I don't know. But Breeze is I think better, much safer. He attacked Isaac, we're in, we're free, just gotta execute now. One thing I do here is that I'm using Synergy with Mia instead of Djinn, because Synergy is faster than Djinn, and I'm going to have enough summon power to kill him without having to use another Djinn. So the next turn I don't have Granite or Flash, but I'm going to use Ground. So Ground plus Breeze means, plus the extra healing stuff I have on Mia means that this Dragon Driver looks scary, but it's totally fine. So yeah, pretty much full HP. Dragon Driver will do like 117-ish to Mia or something. I forget. Targeted Isaac anyway, it doesn't matter. And now the Fusion Dragon dies.
GG.
Easy.
GG spliced.
Boom. Done. And that is Golden Sun all Djinn up to some annoying cutscenes at the end of the game. Amazing how far this run has come in 6 years, and it wouldn't have gotten to this place without people like the people on this call, like Fritzy, who it's pretty much the only reason I can do this category, because Werster's time just mental blocked me for so long. So thanks Fritzy for unblocking my brain and making me learn good menuing.
No,
and of course everybody else that has contributed to this run in some way, in some form. Like, there's too many people to name, but like Fox/T-Water from GS Hacking made or helped with a lot of the scripting, or at least helped me write the scripting, and Legrand making me actually do good menus, and Val for like a bunch of strats here and there, and FX for the move cancelling, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So after like 5 years, we will finally have a console time faster than Werster's 3:57:42, and that makes me incredibly happy.
Yep.
There's no more dispute as to what is faster and what isn't faster. It is now undisputable. Unless I do some dumb shit after this and just goof around, but I don't. I forget what the final time is, but it's like 3:55 something.
You don't actually know?
I don't remember it. Werster's time is recorded.
It's on YouTube still.
Yeah, it's
I
on
would say
YouTube.
right there at the bottom, best possible is 3:5:32. So unless you're really slow in the last split, that's going to be your final time.
I think it's 34, but I could be wrong.
Mashing's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes of mashing.
No, anyway, it was retimed to 402 flat.
The 4-0 was my time.
Yeah. Now, there is a little bit of random trivia. So this category didn't have a new world record for 5 years until Fritzy beat it with a 4 flat 41 or something. 42, 41. Doesn't matter.
4-0.
400, 42 or 41?
47 actually.
47, or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then this past week, Fritzy at a marathon broke the world record. 4 hours, 28 seconds. Crazy. Then like 2 days later, I beat the record with 3:58. And then less than 20 hours later, I broke the record again. Like, for a category that hasn't had a record in 5 years, we've had 3 records in the past week. And not much has changed between that time period, so that's kind of silly.
Just better execution.
Yeah, just it's all execution. Does anyone want to guess what the in-game time actually is? Because we can skip ahead to that once this is finished. Do you know what your in-game time was, Fritzy?
Fritzy's muted.
I think like 3:45.
Wow. Okay. What's next? Next is Golden Sun 1 no save and quit, and I want to have the record by the end of the week, and I should be able to get it because I was 15 minutes ahead of world record, and then I got Death Seas twice. RIP.
Yeah, I would probably still try, maybe beat this again. I'll see, but I'll need some motivation first. But it's still beatable.
I like after I get no 7 quit, I'm coming back to this. I want 354.
Oh boy, okay. Yeah, we can see the sum of best went down to 353. Probably gonna be a bit hard, but like 354 should be possible.
No, it's definitely possible. There's 3 minutes and 30 seconds of extra time added to the goal splits across the course of the run, ish.
Oh, okay.
So 354 should just be good decent to good RNG plus good execution. Plus not hitting the damn guy on the way to Tunnel Ruins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll start routing the what is it? DSEOBC category, which is the meme 200% category, because what's more memey than a bunch of letters?
The 2019
If it's a
starting
meme, you
grade.
can count me in.
So DSOBC is Djinn summons transferable events, objectives, i.e. dungeon objectives, and BC is clearable bosses, so that will include Dullahan, because he's a clearable boss. But it won't include the Aqua Hydra, because the Aqua Hydra can just be cleared. And it will include Hydros, I should mention that as well, because Hydros is a clearable boss. But it won't include the Tempest Lizard, because the Tempest Lizard is not clearable. But yeah, we can look forward to that sometime this year.
This is just the start of the year,
Yeah.
and it's starting great.
Oh yeah, the Djinn no source requirement, but yeah. Well, defeat Dullahan. I don't care about what method I used to do it, just defeat him. Anyway, final time. Never mind, I lied. 32. 35532,
Wow.
there we go. It's like 5 minutes
Game's easy.
of difference. It's insane. Alright, mouse on screen, let's skip through this. Final time. Any guesses? Let's go, last minute.
342.
That's a really good guess, Bal. That's a really, really good guess.
343.
I think Ball is right, probably. Something like 342.30.
No, let's try. This game isn't dead yet. It's really not dead yet.
No, it's very,
It's a
very
good
far from
run,
dead.
but it's
Beatable.
yeah.
Very beatable.
41. Wow.
341.
Damn, dude.
Now, for context,
Spliced!
Werster's run was a 348.
I thought it was a 344 and I couldn't beat it ever. Or
No.
am I misremembering?
It was like a 347 or 348. Like, I was like, what the hell? So much time. It might be 345 even, I don't know. This was miles faster than it. I was like, what the shit? That's insane.
Yep.
Now, Bal, your guess was really good because the 358 was a 342. So, good job, good job. Alright. There we go, history has been made. Werster's time is now beaten properly. Whew.
Yeah, we finally have like a somewhat solid world record after like 5 years again.
Yeah, it's solid-ish. Beatable, but solid-ish. Alright.
Yeah.